Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my co-host,
Mary.
And today we're talking about Survivor Gabon. We're doing a deep dive podcast into the first HD season of Survivor. Mary, this is the first time you and I are talking about a season that you've actually seen prior in terms of our deep dive series.
Right.
All the previous seasons you had never seen before.
That's true.
This is the one that you went into knowing who the winner is, and pretty much you should have known all the major moments, but I still think some things may have surprised you along the way.
Yeah, there were definitely some surprises. I didn't remember everything, or there were things that as they were about to happen, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. But yeah.
For the longest time, Mary forgot who was second place this season. She knew Bob won. She knew Susie lost. Sugar lost. But you forgot about Susie up until final 6.
Yeah, I forgot about Susie. Mm-hmm.
Easy to do. The show doesn't really give her a focus till the end. So, yeah, we're going to, Mary and I are going to talk through episode by episode through the whole season, all the major moments, what we thought. Of course, we have a 2020 perspective with so many years past it in terms of how it impacted Survivor, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Really, it's just a funny season, straight up. For me, I enjoy the saltiness. I feel like most seasons get a Randy or Corinne. This season gets both, and that really elevates the saltiness. A couple things before we get into that I want to mention. Of course, the next season we are covering is Samoa. I say this because we've been going chronological, but you may remember a couple years ago, we covered, it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago, we covered Tocantins. It was a Patreon special where I let them vote and pick another season. I might do that again in the future. I don't know yet. Maybe during the dark ages to give us some light. But yeah, so we're doing Samoa. We already did Tocantins, it's already been covered. So yeah, Samoa's next. And over on Patreon, every single month we are voting on story videos from seasons 1 through 18. Any season that's been covered previously is open for story videos each and every month. Videos are exclusive up to 6 months. I almost will mess up there, but I got it. I went through it.
Good job.
I know, and I appreciate you all listening, by the way. I really do. Okay, so let's do this, Mary. This is the first season in HD. What did you think about the location of Gabon?
I liked it. It's definitely different than what we're used to, just beaches and more beaches.
A lot of Fiji.
Right, yeah. So it was definitely different. It still felt like they had to survive. Obviously that was still a big element. I think the landscape was beautiful, and it felt very Africa.
I love the location. Yeah. Yes.
And of course, all the different wild animals that you don't normally see, like the elephants and the gorillas and things like that.
And they had the choice clearly to put them on a beach, I guess, because there's at least a challenge or two and the merge feast that happen on a beach, and they still chose to put them inland. And I appreciate this because it is such a visual difference. That beach location, I was like, man, like if they had put them here, this would have blended right in. Right. But they didn't, and I'm thankful.
Makes it special.
They take advantage of all the land mass they're given, and it really helps just in terms of production, or it really helps the season.
It felt like some of their challenges were built around the land, the locations, which I appreciated because it didn't seem like just the typical, sure, it might be a typical Survivor type challenge, but you knew it was built specifically for this hill or specifically for this area, and it was really cool.
Very rarely is it go to the end of this obstacle course, get puzzle pieces, come back and build a puzzle. Right. It happens. It's just rare this season because they have so much to work with. They get so creative. Does every challenge hit? Not really, but a lot of the challenges are unique, and I appreciate just the creativity put into it. So right out the gate, we're going to talk through the cast as they come up in the storyline. Basically, I don't want to dump through all 18 of them right from the beginning. Sure. But let's just do this because right away, episode 1, Survivor. And I think this is the last time they do this. I can't remember in our season past Gabon where they do this. But they just start off by letting these people pick their own tribes. And this has never, ever, ever gone well.
Right.
Never. Season 5 Thailand does this. And that season is one of the worst by far. You have yet to see it. Mary has not seen seasons 1 through 5 yet. One day we'll watch them. But season 5 is hot garbage. I know you've seen season 10, Palau. That's when Oolong got oolonged because they chose their own tribe. Trying to think what their seasons were. Fiji, they did it. Episode 2, I think it was episode 1 or episode 2. It's episode 1 or episode 2. They picked their own tribes. What a hot mess that was. I can't think of any other seasons, but those 3 seasons. While Palau is a good season, it was like never should have gone the way it did.
Well,
was
it's really
a hot
hard
mess.
to pick a tribe of people that you don't know anything about. You don't even know their name or what they're good at. It's strictly physical appearance, and I don't know. It just doesn't work out.
Fong just screws up right from the beginning. You got Jillian as their leader, and it's like the moment they pick Susie, that's when the show just starts dumping on Fong throughout the whole pre-merge. The moment Susie gets picked, Charlie goes, I see we're playing stupid Survivor now. It's like from that moment on, the editors just dump on Fong any chance they get. Jeff dunks on them constantly. It's really, Coda is not like some beautiful, perfect tribe. It's just, they're not Fong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was very uneven tribes, it felt like, by the end of it.
I do want to point out that in the confessionals that people have prior to the tribes being selected, the editors grade out the buffs by taking people like Randy had a buff on his head. It was supposed to be red. And I actually believe that was after he had his head wrapped from the blood that comes later too. And he was talking about the picking, but they had to gray out his buff to not let you know what tribe he was going to.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Him and Corinne were the two I noted. Not Corinne. I meant him and Crystal, if I recall, were the two people that had their buffs grayed because you could clearly see them, but they didn't want you to know what tribe they're going to yet. So just that little extra step, the little extra. And also we noticed, I know you brought this up, I didn't even notice this. Can you tell people what you noticed about the opening, the theme song?
Oh, they only keep the players who are still in the game in the theme. So as soon as someone gets voted out, they're no longer in the opening sequence. Which
they didn't do last season, but I think what's also interesting is it goes from 20, or I don't think the season's 18 if I recall. It's 18, 17, 16, it like counts down every episode versus just saying the same old every episode. So this season's the first time that they do that.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot of extra work to update the title sequence for every episode.
Just completely removing people. And if they did it in Micronesia, China, I just don't remember. But I don't think they did. I think this season was HD and they just put the extra effort in, frankly.
Which I appreciate. I thought that was cool.
Also, I got to recommend for those who really like Gabon, my Secrets of Gabon video has a lot of saltiness in it as well from people. You may be shocked to hear this. With behind the scenes, Ponderosa Mary. Ponderosa, you may be shocked to hear this. Marcus, Charlie, and Corinne create a little clique and they don't like to talk to other people and they're real jerks to them.
Oh, really?
Who would have guessed that Corinne would be a jerk to other people?
Yeah.
I never saw that one coming. Yeah, that's all in the Ponderosa videos in the video. But if you have the Gabon DVD, you can watch it yourself in full because what I show is just what I thought was interesting. Okay, so Charlie Sharp calls Fong stupid for their picks. Tribes are given pre-built huts. What do you think about the pre-built huts being given to them?
Well, it could be because it's on a preserve or preservation, and so they probably had to do something with cutting down trees or something. They couldn't make their own. That would be my guess.
Because we don't see. I don't know if we see them get firewood. I'm sure they do.
Yeah, we see them get firewood all the time, but it's all dead trees on the ground.
Yeah. They're not like cutting. That's what I'm trying to think of. Like, were they cutting down trees? I don't recall them doing that.
There was I remember one scene where Susie is like trying to take down this tree, but again, it was an already dead tree in the forest that she was just trying to like root up.
There had to be rules to this because this is a preserve they're on.
Right.
Unlike season 3 Africa, which by the way, I like how all these other seasons are called by like specific locations like Cook Islands or Panama. Versus like the season 3 Africa just gets the whole continent as if this is Africa. So eventually when they do Gabon, they're like, well, we kind of already did Africa.
That was early days. I didn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they had no idea they're going to go this far. So yeah, here with Gabon, it's totally visually different from Africa. Season 3 Africa, they're like in the middle of nowhere. It's like a desert. Though I think they're also on a preserve in that season as well. An animal, whatever. I'm sorry for not having the perfect vernacular, but the location they were at previously for season 3 was also a safe haven for the animals, so they couldn't hurt them at all. And in this season, at least they were allowed to fish because season 3 Africa didn't have any water for fishing. So at least they let them fish, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
well, they could have said no to that too.
That's true, I guess. Maybe they just give them extra rice or something.
So I personally prefer this location over the season 3 Africa location, even though the season 3 Africa location was so unique as well. So, all right. So a lot of my notes are related to Fong.
Well, it's very Fong-centric for the first couple episodes because they
quite a while
constantly fail. And so they constantly go to tribal. So yeah, we hear a lot from them.
Jillian loves the elephant dung is my...
Oh, she doesn't love the elephant
She
dung.
loves the elephant dung. Elephant dung. We can use it for everything.
You can use it for firewood.
For firewood and for curing yourself of cancer.
No.
The elephant dung.
She
I
said
can't
it
do her
one
accent.
time.
Yeah. What did you think about Jillian?
I like Jillian. I thought she was funny. I would have voted her off first.
No.
Also, because
Bad
she's
Mary.
old and a liability.
Bad.
That would have been my first vote. But
glad
as
you
a
weren't on
person,
Gabon.
I mean, I thought she was a fun character in the show.
We all then meet. So this is kind of our introduction to a lot of people. Jillian loves elephant dung. Everyone loves Bob out the gate, by the way, which is, I think, is very interesting and almost if you make a comparison between how everybody feels about him at the beginning versus the end, the final tribal council. Because by the end, everybody's not in love with Bob. I know he wins, but it's not like Bob was like, okay, obviously Bob over
Right.
Sugar and Susie. It's not how it was at all. We'll talk about that when we get through that. And if I remember, and I'm a nice person, I'll put chapter markers for pre-merge, merge, and final tribal. But we'll see if I remember to do that. All right. Everyone loves Bob. Ken is all about the girls.
Yes.
All about the girls. Just the whole game. And I think that it isn't directly said, but I think it also affects one of his decisions later on in the game. Because the whole first half of the game, he talks about girls. Girls are attractive. This girl's attractive. I like her. She's cute. But then, like, the second half of the game, all of a sudden, that's not a factor anymore. And it could be because he's not thinking about it as much anymore. Now he's starving more. But I don't know. We'll talk about it a little bit later because I think it affects one of the later vote outs. So it's not directly said. But Ken, man, pro gamer, a lot of people on my Gabon video, my most popular video as the time of us recording this, a lot of people recognize Ken from the Smash community, Super Smash Brothers. So I think he's still prominent today. I don't think he's like the number one gamer anymore, but unlike Crystal,
He actually has some skills.
you said it.
Sorry.
No, that was perfect.
Everyone has skills.
Yeah.
We just couldn't see many
Mine
of
is just
Crystal's.
Yeah, Crystal's like first confessionals. I'm going to win the hell out of this game with my blazing fast speed or something to that effect. And at no point did her blazing fast speed ever help her.
Nope.
Even during running challenges. And I want to get this out of the way now because Crystal was stripped of her gold medal she won in 04 because her team was caught with steroids. That does not mean Crystal specifically was caught with steroids. I think they were either caught with it or they admitted to it, something like that. But she was stripped of the gold medal. So if you look up Crystal Cox Olympian at all on Google, you will see 1,000 articles about this. However, Crystal, I think a year or two ago, I found this out after I made my Gabon video because there was a couple comments. I did some research. Crystal, in an interview, I think with Fair Play, said that they reversed the decision later. But I cannot find anything else on the entire internet to back up her statement on that. I don't see nothing about a reversal of that decision online. So I don't think they physically came to her house and took the medal out of her home. So she still has the medal, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think they came and like, I think it's just like,
Sure, I'm just
like we officially
stricken from the record.
Yeah, but we're not gonna like spend the money to have somebody come to your house and take it from you like a bounty hunter. So was she ever, I don't know, was it reversed? I can't say for sure. I don't have the facts. What I do know is at one point it was stripped from her. That is official, but I have nothing saying it was reversed. And I did research and I couldn't find anything. So take it for what you will. But Crystal is season, her athletic skills say it all. She's a great character. She is a terrible athlete. That's what we saw here. No point from the very first challenge is she good.
Still better than us.
That first challenge, I don't know.
You don't know, seriously.
Crystal drops out of that one pole challenge she has in her like hands. 1 second in drops. Come on, Mary. You tell me you can't go longer than a second. Crystal dropped after 1 second.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with your athleticism. That's mental.
Yeah, mental has to do with athleticism as well.
Okay.
It's all about what you think you can do. So Randy straight up says, I shoot weddings, but I hate them.
Yes.
I hate weddings, and I wrote down he hates life. I don't know if he says that, but maybe it's just me adding on.
Seems like he does, yes.
Yeah. But he busts his head open like night one. And I got to tell you, keep in mind, Micronesia has been filmed, is already aired. So everyone has seen that season. They're aware of it. I'm sure precautions were put into place. I'm sure they're more like ready and on top of things than they were last time, because we saw how Penner and James got pulled due to infections from cuts that the show just let them have. Like, the show did not treat their cuts right away like they should have. And they paid for it, and it led to a final 2 they didn't intend on having. And this season, I think they were on top of it. Randy busts his head, they're out there immediately. It was not the next morning. It was nothing like that.
Wasn't it the next morning?
No, they were out there the night of doing stitches.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could say the busting of his head with blood is more serious, of course. But I just want to say I think the show is more on top of it than they were in Micronesia, probably knowing what just happened and how that affected their season very drastically. So yeah, medical is all over anybody bust. I think Randy's only issue this season medically. But then we get, I think this is either the first or second tribal council. Jeff's just kind of like over Fong. And I'm sorry for mixing up. This is the first episode. It's kind of a blur of just Fong being just screwing up and Jeff just not, he's just over them.
Right.
He's either the first or second immunity challenge, Jeff says. Jillian's rooting for them to succeed and to win. And Jeff's like, all right, you can just kind of stop now.
Yeah, I think that was the second one.
It was either the first or second, but he's over it.
Right.
Michelle's voted off first. I don't really care that she went first. I don't care that she was like one of the first people to finish the first challenge of the game, because clearly the tribe didn't like her, and I don't think she would have made the difference on them succeeding in the next challenge when Jillian gets voted off.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it would have been better to vote off Jillian just because she's older and she has done nothing, and at least Michelle has some physical prowess, like more than Jillian. But again, that's personal opinion. It wasn't there at camp. I don't know the interactions. I'm just saying that seems to me to be the smarter decision.
Kenny was lusting for Michelle, though.
He admitted that he hadn't been on a date since he was 16, and here was this really pretty girl who was talking to him about how he was the only one in camp she could trust, and he was the only one she could talk to. So
Kenny's like, I believe in miracles. Yeah. Where you from? For some reason, and I don't know why this is pushed so hard, Jeff's like, you all need to elect a leader. You need to pick a leader.
That was
this tribe's
so weird.
Going to crap. And it's like been one tribal. I wrote this down after Michelle voted off first. So I believe this was during the first tribal.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Jeff gave them no time to fix themselves. Jeff was like parenting them from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think they were, I want to bet they were already disappointed by the way the tribes are split up. The moment Crystal picked Susie and we cut to Charlie saying, oh, I see we're playing Stupid Survivor, I bet you that's what production was thinking as well. They were probably super disappointed with how the tribes are split up. And it feels represented not only by Jeff, but by how the show portrays Fong.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's pronounced Fong on the show. Got a lot of comments on the Gabon video saying, why am I saying Fong and not Fang? Because it's pronounced Fong. That's the word. That's how they pronounce it. So
yeah, it's a Gabonese word.
Now, later on in the season, I don't know if I have a note for this, Corinne does ask him to say Fang because they're no longer Fong, so he calls them Fang. But the proper way it says Fong. So GC's elected leader. He kind of says, yeah, I'll do leadership, but I don't know. Yeah,
it was very semi, like, sure, I could be the leader if we really need one. And then I was like, yeah.
I vote GC, yep.
And he kind of got pushed into it. I never got the reasoning behind you guys need a leader. Like, I understand in challenges that it shouldn't all be one person doing their own thing, which does seem to be what they did a lot in challenges. They were not united as a team, but that doesn't mean you have to, like, elect a leader. I don't know. I was very confused as why Jeff kept pushing it because it was disastrous, really.
Yeah, I don't think anybody on the Fong tribe being elected leader is going to fix them.
And no one on the other tribe had a leader.
Yeah,
an elected
leader.
I
think if you really want to look at maybe Marcus was the leader of Coda, but yeah, who on Fong would have been the ideal leader? And can't think of anybody. Randy, no. Maddie, no. Crystal, no. Kenny, no. Clearly not Michelle or Jillian. So
I would have said, and I've already forgotten their names, but the guy that's like a lawyer. Wasn't Daniel?
Dan was on Coda, so that wouldn't have helped. Not to be
mind.
sarcastic, but I
Was
think
it
it was on Coda.
Marcus?
Hold on, let me look.
No,
I know there's a tribe swap at some point. No, Dan started on Fong, so it could have been Dan first.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah, there was a tribe swap. I just remember him getting voted off of Coda. That's why.
right.
No, I don't see. And Dan was like kind of like erratic is the word I'll use.
Yes, eventually he did kind of break down a little bit. So sure,
Susie
there
wouldn't
weren't
have been a good leader.
great choices, but it was like nobody wanted to take charge, and so therefore nothing was getting done. While things around camp were getting done, but in challenges, there was no need to fight. But in a challenge, you only need one person to be like, "Oh, I think I know what we should do here."
I never really got this whole we need a leader. I also never really got, oh, you're the leader, I need to vote you off, which has been said a lot, and maybe it's affected like a vote or two here or there, but it's never been like, oh, being a leader is the death nail for me. And I think this comes even more pronounced when we end up watching Samoa next, and I'm not spoiling Samoa for those who haven't seen it, but Samoa, one of the twists is from the very beginning, and there's Tocantins in between, so probably not. I almost wonder if it was in response to Gabon, because they force both tribes to pick a leader right out the gate. And one tribe picks Russell Swan, the other tribe picks Mick, which you may remember. I know we recently watched the premiere of Samoa because some family members were watching it.
I don't remember.
It was like Mary's. I wish I had your Survivor memory sometimes so I could enjoy things for the first time again. Mary has amnesia from things we saw 3 weeks ago.
I just have more important things to remember.
Yeah, that's what it is. GC, but anyway, so back at camp, GC tries being the leader, and Randy's like, he's the worst leader ever. Randy really has a vendetta against GC.
Randy just has a vendetta against the world. Susie is right. He's just an angry, sad man who needs help.
I mean, Sugar said the same thing.
Yeah.
So GC basically quits being the leader after like 24 hours the next day. Like for the next tribal council by far.
He probably got a lot of flack.
No one was probably listening to him.
Right.
That's why I gathered. And people would question, like, all right, I want to pop over to Coda for just a minute because I did write this down. Because while it is vocalized this season, this is not the first instance of it. Marcus says he wants to create an onion alliance. That is an alliance where there's a core center of the alliance. Him, I don't remember everyone because it ends up not being important. Charlie, of course, because Charlie, while he is blatantly gay, is very gay for Marcus. He makes that is like his whole character arc this season. That's all they give him. Besides calling them Fong stupid for picking Susie, Charlie's character arc is, I really like Marcus. I wish Marcus was gay.
That's all we get to hear from him, mostly.
Really all Charlie says. So Marcus proposes the Onion Alliance, and I want to say the first usage of the Onion Alliance was in season 2. And I know you haven't seen season 2, Mary, so just bear with me here. Tina and Colby and Keith are the center of the alliance. Jerry and Amber are the outer layer. It's the exact same thing he's talking about here with other members. So I've heard it said that like this is the first Onion, but it's absolutely not, and it's not even the second usage of the Onion Alliance. This is just the first time somebody's vocalized the words the Onion Alliance, but this is not the first Onion Alliance. I want to be very clear on that.
If he was the first one to name it, then sure.
He's the first one to name it and to succinctly explain what it is, but he's not the first person to make an Onion Alliance. Because I made a video.
It's called the Onion
It's
Alliance?
always vendettas I have. A few years ago, I don't have any vendettas. 3 years ago, I want to say, 4 years ago, I forgot. Whenever their channel, around the time channel first started, about the first Onion Alliance, and I know there's a lot of confusion basically about like I thought the Onion Alliance was in Gabon. It's like it's the first time it was like vocalized and explained, but this is
I get it. I just like if someone would have said, "Oh, this is the Four Horsemen Alliance," like I don't know, it's just recognizable. So maybe it's just recognizable for people.
Oh, okay. So if you want to say this is the first alliance named the Onion Alliance, absolutely. Yeah. But the reason he named it is because of the strategy of it.
I get that.
So I'm trying to explain this is not the first time this strategy of an alliance has been used. But yes, this is the first time someone's called it that. But quite often, I believe that exists. I don't even really watch the show, but Big Brother Onion Alliances are used all the time. So I don't know if Marcus got it from Big Brother or if he created it and then Big Brother used it. I assume it's Big Brother had it first, but sometimes we'll see the strategies bleed over from show to show if you watch both shows. So Jeff hates Fong's charcoal face paint. They show up. They want to hype themselves up for the second immunity challenge. I wrote that he hates it.
I do remember him saying, like, what is this? And they said, oh, we're just getting rid of the challenge. He's like,
he goes, okay.
Oh. Yeah, and that was it.
That's why I said Jeff hates the Fox charcoal face paint. I mean, and then later, that's because it's so funny because then, like, the finale, they're all painted up and everything, and Jeff's like all into that because the show planned for them to do that, I guess.
Yeah, it was, it felt like he had just a grudge against them for losing.
Jeff had a vendetta against Fong. All right, so Dan sent to exile after Fong, of course, loses immunity. Dan sent to exile, where he gets the option for comfort or clue. What did you think about the Exile Island this season?
I liked Exile Island.
This is the first time it wasn't really an island, though.
True.
The shack was kind of an island in the little pond.
Sure.
But this is the first time it's not actually an island.
Did it say island? It's always
said
just
Exile Island.
I thought it was just always called Exile.
I think it's the shorthand for it, but if you think back, season 10, when they had it for one episode, it was on an island. Season 11, it didn't exist. Season 12, it was an island. It had this wooden skull that was super cool. Season 13, Cook Islands, was a little island spit with like a wooden ship they put there that was shipwrecked. Fiji had if you remember, the radio, not radio tower, but like the tower on the island with the sea snakes. China didn't exist. And then Micronesia, they did the same thing with the shack out in the water, but they were on an island still.
I just was wondering if Jeff ever said the words Exile Island or it was just to exile.
If he didn't say Exile Island, I know for a fact it was shown on screen on the bottom saying Exile Island day whatever.
Sure.
So, yeah, did Jeff say island? I don't know, but he definitely said exile because it probably felt weird to call island.
But I liked it. I liked that you had an option between the clue and comfort instead of just giving you the clue or whatever. And the location was pretty cool. It
was a good evolution. It's so crazy to me that Sugar finds it though in episode 2. I mean, Yule finding it in episode 2 was like, wow, like what a genius. Sugar finding episode 2 is like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like when you watch it, it's like Yule was a genius the way he had to figure his out because his was like more vague. Sugar's was go here, go here, go here. Oh, you found it.
Yeah.
It was almost like, and they did it the same way they did in Micronesia. It's just, it took other people in Micronesia couldn't figure it out or it rained or whatever. So it took till episode 4 when Ozzy found it. But here, episode 2, Sugar finds it. Yep. It just made sense. Like you got enough time. What else are you doing? And you can't go in the shack and eat fruit.
Right.
They gave them a lot of fruit in the shacks.
Well, the very first couple times it was just one apple.
Yeah.
But afterwards, yes.
I think they started tempting them.
I don't think it ever rained while they were there. That we saw.
Holy crap. Now that I think about it, the whole season, I don't think it rained either.
Because I was just thinking because a lot of times when you're on exile, all you can do is try to get fire and food, and that takes up a lot of your time and energy.
They really lucked out on not having any rain.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, she must have had a water well there, or I don't know, because it seemed like she could spend the entire time looking for the idol and didn't have to worry about anything else. So,
well, also, even if you're not be able to sleep inside the shack, you can still sleep on that walkway leading up to the shack, which is a cleaner thing to sleep on than the ground. I don't know where they slept on exile if you weren't sleeping in the shack. I would sooner sleep on that walkway that they made, that wooden walkway goes to the shack, than sleep on the ground personally.
I don't know. I think I'd rather sleep on the ground.
I'm anti.
Because those rough boards, man. Like, you have bugs on that board.
Yeah, I don't know. If you think about it, we never saw anybody sleeping on exile. And it sounds like we're being like conspiracy theorists. I'm just saying. They never showed it like they did on all the other seasons. Right. So, true. We never really saw the survival part of exile. It was either looking for an idol or being sitting in the sugar shack.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dan picks the clue and he can't even find the sandy crater. I mean,
it was so sad.
He can't even find the first thing, and everyone else who comes after finds that like no problem. Yeah. And by everyone I mean like Sugar and Bob, because because Susie doesn't go.
Susie didn't look because she knew Sugar had the idol.
Yeah. Jillian gets voted off. Sad day. Bummer, she says as she's voted off. Bummer. She says it kind of low, but she goes bummer.
Not quite like that.
She did. She went bummer.
I just said not quite like that.
She wasn't doing an exaggerated character voice, but no. So let's cover episode 2, unless you have anything else in the premiere.
No, go for it.
Double length premiere. I think technically it counts as an episode 1, episode 2, depending on if you're looking at the DVD or Paramount Plus or whatever. Nothing this season, I believe, is exclusive to the DVD in terms of the episodes. Where if you go back to like Vanuatu or Marquesas, there will be straight up scenes that are cut from the streamed show because of musical licensing. By this point, you're not getting any of that. Like everything in the show is fine. But those earlier seasons, I mentioned this because I've been working on, like I did a couple Marquesas videos, and it's like, wow, there's straight up scenes in the show that were cut from the streaming service that are only on the DVD. And it's such a shame. So, but Gabon, yeah. Episode 2, Fong wins reward. This is the only episode where Fong is truly successful. They win reward and they win immunity this episode.
They do? I thought they just won reward.
They won both. This is the only episode where it's like Fong has their stuff together, which is why I think it's so funny that they get ragged on so hard, because this is the last episode before we do a tribe swap. So Fong, by the way, this version of Fong goes 2 for 4 on challenges, but we're treating them like they're like some, piece of garbage tribe that should be shunned and shamed.
Yeah.
They go 2 for 4 in the first 2 episodes.
That's not bad. I thought it was worse.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like before the swap, they're like that first episode. Sure, they're bad, but it reminds me of, I can't say the tribe because I try not to spoil future seasons if I can.
On another
in
season.
season 28, there is a tribe that will go unnamed, but if you know, you know that the very first episode they do the same kind of edit like they're doing here to Fong. So I guess in that season they're copying where it's like they just dump on him so hard. But then episode 2, that tribe also wins immunity. And it's like, okay, so why are we dumping on them so hard in episode 1? Anyways, it's just baffling. So, but I will say episode 2, Fong is already over halfway through the rice. Episode 2.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And by halfway, I assume they were supposed to ration their rice till the merge, just to guess.
At least, yeah.
You don't ration for 39 days, in my opinion. You ration it through the merge and you'll deal with it after that. But it's episode 2 and the merge isn't until I think episode 7 or 8.
Well, that could be another reason because like that's just dumb. I'm sorry.
They're eating so much. GC at one point says, I had to throw away rice. Like, bro, I would save that as leftovers. Yeah. Leftover rice.
You can't just throw away food.
Don't throw away rice. Though they don't have, where are they going to store the leftovers? And then you get like ants. I don't know what stuff gets in there. You got like old food sitting around. You probably do have to throw it away. I say as if I had the luxury of a refrigerator to put leftovers up.
Right.
Yeah. Sugar goes to exile for the first time. That will not be the last. She finds out idol episode 2, just like Yule. At some point during the episode, I don't put the exact scene, but they do reuse the music from the opening of season 3 Africa, which I thought was a cool nod to the other Africa season. This challenge, the one that Fong wins, is the water slide immunity challenge, which I don't even remember. I know there's like a puzzle at the end, but all I remembered was the water slide.
I don't remember.
We, by the way, watched this whole season in the past 4 or 5 days. Mary, can I have your amnesia?
You don't remember either, apparently.
No, I remember the water slide immunity challenge. I
remember them going down a water slide, but I don't remember anything else. That's what I was saying. I remember the same as you.
Okay, I thought you said you don't even remember the water slide.
No, I remember the water slide part.
Mary's like, I don't remember that there was a season of Survivor.
Ace flipped over twice.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Ace yet. Let's talk about Ace. So Ace has this British accent because while he was born in America, he was raised, I don't know how long, maybe his whole childhood in the UK. But then he lives in Florida at the time of playing this season. So his accent kind of fluctuates because he's in America, but also he's from the UK, but he's born American. So people have suspected, Mary, that he's not really British and that he's faking his accent. But I feel like that's too long to fake an accent 24/7.
Yeah. No, he's not faking.
No, it's just his accent's
Your accent will change based on who you're around a lot, too. So, like, my mom was from Kentucky, but we lived in Indiana. But when we would go back home to Kentucky, her accent would come out really strong.
Really?
Yeah, a lot stronger. And so I just felt like he was around more people that were like 24/7. I don't know. And
speaking with an American accent.
Right.
Yeah.
And he lives in America, so I can't say that. I'm just saying that, yeah, your accent's can fluctuate, especially if you recently came from London or whatever.
Ace, there's a lot of casting gold this season. Ace is one of them. I would consider like should he have made it to the merge? I guess what I'm trying to say. Should he have made it to the merge? Would have made the season name better. And I feel like Ace going where he did kind of works. Too much Ace could have been really annoying because he was very arrogant.
Yeah.
There's only so much of that you can take for it. Just like rubs you the wrong way.
We already had a lot of arrogant characters.
There's a lot of characters this season. This season, I know. So once again, I don't want to date the podcast. So a current season that is either airing or is as aired or is airing, depending on when you're listening to this. That it takes place in the country of Fiji. A player on that season said that they told production that their favorite season was Gabon, and the look production gave them told them clear as day that production does not like Gabon. And we're in the 40s. That's as much information as I'll give, because I don't want to date the podcast too much, but I've already dated it enough. So
yeah.
Anyways, to let you know what the own show thinks of Gabon.
Yeah, apparently nobody liked it.
But the casting
it's not that bad, I didn't think.
No, it's all characters.
Yeah.
The strategy's horrible.
Yes. There's not a lot of good strategy. But the challenges are fun, the location's fun, the characters are good.
Salty.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama. I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad.
No, I think in retrospect, because I was wanting you to see like a solid season, thinking back to why I apologized. And this is like such an off brand. It's like if somebody else made a Survivor season.
Sure.
For one season.
Sure.
If Jeff was replaced as host for just this season, it would just fit perfectly with the rest of the season. Just they're given huts. They don't have to build their own shelter. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. So Corinne questions Ace's accent. Oh, I didn't read that before I brought it up, but that was good. Thank you, Corinne. Paloma's voted out this episode. Who cares? Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about Paloma whatever. All right, episode 3. Randy says we need to do one meal a day, and people don't agree. Kenny specifically does not agree.
No, GC specifically does not agree.
But also Kenny.
Kenny agreed with him.
Kenny agreed with him this episode?
Yeah.
I thought Kenny didn't agree, because later on Kenny's like, I told everyone we need to do one meal a day. And that's my Kenny voice. But I don't remember him ever saying that. I don't remember him agreeing with Randy.
I don't know if he like stood up like Randy did and said, yeah, Randy is right. He was probably not as vocal about it, but no, I think he agreed with him, but it's probably something like, yeah, you're probably right. And then GC was like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just, it doesn't come up again until the tribes swap and they're like, what did you guys do?
Yeah. So bad.
Surprised we didn't see any negotiations with Jeff. This may be pre the days of them being allowed to do that. We then get I think this is very unique this season. And off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you if they do this in our season. I want to say they do, but I don't know which season if they do it. They rank everyone in their tribe. And this is how they determine to do another draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I feel like a mid pre-merge draft is okay, because you do have a handle on who is who and who's been strong in challenges and whatnot. It's just that before we've even talked to each other, we're drafting a team. That's such a bad idea. But here they do it based on the rankings. I wrote down Coda puts their 4 men at the top and 4 women at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Sexist. I will report them to the police immediately.
Go ahead.
But it was interesting to see that Charlie is hot for Marcus. That's basically his whole storyline. I felt the need to write that apparently, because I think it's all that had come out of his mouth through 3 episodes in the show. I'm sure Charlie, by the way, on Gabon was saying a lot more things, talking about a lot more other things, but the show only chose to show us he's hot for Marcus. And so when he lands on, I wrote that because he lands on the tribe with Marcus, the new Coda, and he's like, thank the Lord I'm with Marcus. Like he like a fan, to fan off how hot he was for Marcus. Mary's giving me a look of like, this joke is not going to get any funnier.
Right. Basically.
All right. Fong puts Crystal below Randy, and she is mad.
Yeah. But she's not any good at challenges, so I don't.
Terrible.
I see why. Randy was actually pretty decent in challenges.
We saw it very specifically when he's on Coda, and he's like the star of some of their challenges for Coda. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Crystal is never the star of any challenge. She's the star of the laughter, but not of the actual succeeding. But anyways, it's funny seeing her how mad she was. But they put me below Randy. Crystal, such a character. I don't even know who the 5 story videos are, by the way. At the time of us recording this is before everyone gets to vote on Patreon for the 5. I'm going to make a prediction here. I think Bob. I mean, obviously Bob. He's the winner. All winners are guaranteed. I think it's safe to say Sugar, Corinne, Randy. 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
I think Corinne and Randy are going to get
I don't know
story
about
videos.
Corinne. Probably Randy, but
Oh, Randy for sure. Corinne,
you like Corinne. I don't know if that many people like Corinne, or if she has that
she
much
comes back for fans versus favorites too. Not that says a lot.
That doesn't
but
say
she does come back for fans versus favorites too.
I'd see Kenny before I see Corinne. But
I was going to say, I think number 5 might be Crystal over Kenny, but I think a lot of people on the internet like Kenny because he is such a prominent figure, so he might beat out Crystal.
I like Kenny in this season a lot until closer to the end. Like, I like Kenny as a character. I have no idea. I've never seen any of his YouTube or don't care about
I think he's on Twitch. Yeah, I couldn't tell you for sure. But anyways, I'm predicting that 5th video is either going to be Crystal or Kenny. I just don't know who. And I could be wrong. Corinne may not even make it, but that's my prediction. I think this gets posted after the vote. I know it gets posted on YouTube after the voting. I just don't know if it gets posted on Patreon after the voting. I have to look at my schedule. So, all right. That's what shows you how early we're recording this. So, let's see here. Kenny picks Kelly over Sugar because
she was the lowest on the totem pole.
She's hot.
Well,
he says it, though. He didn't need to say it,
Sugar
but he says
is
it.
also hot, which he does admit also. I really think this was actually one of his strategic moves to pick somebody.
Pretend like it was because they're hot.
He didn't pretend like it was because they're hot.
Okay.
From what I remember, they were all huddled around talking to him, and Ace is like, don't pick Kelly. She doesn't ever listen to me or do what I say. So then we cut to his confessional saying, okay, so I knew I wanted to pick Kelly because I don't want a bunch of, I wanted somebody who wasn't going to be following Ace around like a puppy, basically. And so, yeah, then he said, and she's hot or whatever. Yeah. But like, I do think he had some strategy there.
But Sugar goes unpicked in this, and Sugar is like Ace's right-hand woman.
Right. Ace was...
But wasn't there more choices than just these two? There was more than just these two, wasn't there?
At this point, I don't think so. Because you had to pick from the opposite tribe.
Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, that's right. It was like they had to flip-flop between the two tribes. Pick Coda and then Fong. Fong. Yeah, he picks Kelly over Sugar. I don't know. There's a lot of things Kenny says that sounds a lot like the attractiveness of a woman determines his decision making. I'm not saying it is his only factor. I'm saying it is a factor at almost all times. It comes out of his mouth. I don't have to say the things. They were both
attractive, and so he picked so he went with the strategic one of the one that wouldn't follow Ace around. Just my opinion. I'm not saying if there was one girl and that was cute and a guy, he wouldn't have gone with the girl and not even thought about it. I'm saying with 2 cute girls, he had to make this strategic choice.
Let's put it this way. Kenny's 22. Sugar's 29. Kelly's 22. You do the math. I'm just saying.
You couldn't tell that from looking at Sugar.
No, way people act. Sugar does not act like she's 22. I mean, you could argue differently, but anyways, we'll move on. I think you and I agree to disagree. Mary gave me the most weird. She's like, she does not agree. Okay. All right.
Sugar does not act like she's 29.
Okay, we're moving on. We'll talk about this later. Sugar goes unpicked and gets I don't know why I put this all in one sentence. Sugar goes unpicked and gets 6 pieces of fruit. I think I was amazed by how much fruit she got at the Sugar Shack because this is her second time going. The immunity challenge is the water lacrosse, and right away we see the value of Randy in immunity challenge when he's not dealing with he's not dealing with Fong. I mean,
yeah, he was intense.
Like Randy on Fong is like when they put the Green Ranger on the Power Rangers team and he's like okay, he's just like part of the team. Randy on Coda is like when the Green Ranger was fighting all the original Power Rangers and he was like, how is he single-handedly beating them all? I know that was an obscure reference to old Power Rangers, but you're welcome. Randy just dominates old Fong. Like he has a vendetta and he channels it when he plays against them. Because he is so mean to them. He even has a confessional. This episode, next episode, he's like, I am never going back to Fong. I am Coda all the way. Just the irony.
Yeah, because everyone was hating on Fong. And he didn't like it.
Especially Randy, who called them idiots all the time. Yeah. So, Coda wins immunity, obviously. And where I almost lost mine. There you go. Fong blows it so hard. There was half the team does not know how to paddle in these little boats. You mentioned it while we were watching it. It reminded you of, for those who watch The Amazing Race, Flo and Zach from The Amazing Race 3, when Flo refused to, in a very similar looking boat, I think she had a bigger one, which would have let her not, these looks like you could tip over pretty easily if you wanted to. In The Amazing Race, she had a bigger one, but I don't know. What's so hard about Pat. Right, left.
It's because it's a round boat, and so it's much easier to turn in the like over. It's really easy to overcorrect. So it's hard to go straight.
We saw a few people put both hands in the water, probably because of what you're saying.
Yeah,
because it's easier just to like go straight with both. I can see that. Yeah, I think. What else could you have given them though to do this challenge? I guess.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a good challenge. Yeah. It just was difficult for a lot of people.
I don't know when this happens. I wrote Fong blows it so hard, and then Crystal jims the camera. When did that happen? Why? What happened that she jimmed the camera? And by jim the camera, I mean she looked straight into it, which is rare in Survivor.
She was talking to somebody back at camp, and it was somebody I think they were going to vote out. So whoever is getting voted out next.
Jackie?
Probably, yes, because Jackie was saying how much, I don't remember exactly the conversation, but something to the effect where Crystal's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to vote for you kind of thing. And then looks
and then she kind of jims the camera. Yeah.
It's something to that effect.
So during this tribal council during episode 3, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So I don't apologize for telling you this. Ace's jacket comes on and off the whole tribal. You cut to a wide of all of them sitting, Ace's jacket's on. You cut to a close-up of Ace, his jacket's off. Cut to a wide shot of them all, Ace's jacket's off. Cut back into Ace, his jacket's back on. I couldn't keep count of how many times it happened.
If it was a close-up, I think it was Kenny who was sitting in front of him. You would see Ace's arm. It was either Ace's arm in a jacket or Ace's arm bare. Ace's arm in a jacket, Ace's arm bare.
Yeah, and based on when they go to vote, it seems like Ace took off his jacket sometime during tribal. Yeah. But this is what I mean whenever people will try to discredit other players in my videos, like with comments. So for example, Gabler, they're like, oh, Gabler, they cut together his final tribal to make him look better. And it's like, here's the thing. They cut together all conversations, anything anybody ever says ever, to make it sound better for TV so we can get the shorthand version. It's always shorthand. We're never getting the full anything, ever. And this is like a prime visual example of that. Whatever's being said. No, there was nothing even that important being said, because what was being said was not important. I just wrote down Ace's jacket. Ace's jacket coming on and off tells you everything you need to know about how often they're cutting things together just so we can understand the storyline in 42 minutes.
Right.
Yep. It is unless the camera does not cut from somebody's face, you can assume that that sentence was stitched together. Sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes they do a really good job. Here, if it wasn't for Ace's jacket, they would have done a really good job. I bet you they were kicking themselves when they were editing this. They're like, nothing we can do about Ace's jacket.
Yeah. Because it is difficult. I mean, you can't show the whole 2-hour tribal council or whatever, obviously. So you have to be able to pick out the most important things and then get those things to flow together in a natural conversation. So it's something that has to be done.
I don't think this would ever happen, but I would love... They used to, for a while, give us the uncut, raw confessionals when people are voting. Every single tribal council. They stopped that. They did it between seasons 15 to 21. And I posted videos of all the ones that they put out there publicly. But I really, and I know this will never happen, I really wish we could get the uncut tribal councils as like a bonus feature on Paramount.
Yeah.
And I assume they would never go back and do that for the older seasons, but it'd be really nice if you had the luxury after the season is done to go back and watch the uncut tribal councils. Uncut meaning wherever they want to show you still, but it's like they don't have to add in music. They could just like, it could be the whole hour and a half to give you like, oh man, what was everybody saying? Like, you know, what more did they not show us in the show? Just for those who really care. I don't know even know if I'd watch all these, but there might be certain tribal councils where I would want to watch.
I wouldn't want to watch those. I would only care about final tribals, honestly.
Oh, I would love uncut final tribal. Or I would love if they would just give us all the uncut voting confessionals when people vote for the winner. They never do that.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
Since season 1. Season 1's the only time you get every single one, with the exception of one vote to try to make it a mystery as to who's going to win. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, like every season, like I just want, what were people saying when they voted for the winner? I really wish that if there's anything I could get on a special feature, that would be it. Because I would really love to know, what was everyone saying when they voted for this person to win? You know, that's what I want. So anyways, maybe one day Santa Jeff will make that happen. But in the meantime, Jackie gets voted out. Whatever. Episode 4, the elephant. Not the elephant dung. the elephant.
Oh, yeah.
When Maddie sees the elephant, he's like, guys, come on, let's go look. And it's
That was
like
pretty cool.
Pretty cool moment. Him and Ace go out there on the boat. Mary's like, I would not have done that.
No, that was dumb.
We were watching it. Mary's like, I don't go out there. Like nothing bad happens, but it's all said in retrospect, knowing that nothing bad happens. Yeah. They then have a challenge that Mary, you described as the Fruit Ninja Challenge.
Oh yeah.
Can you explain what this challenge was that made you think of Fruit Ninja?
I mean, they just had to throw a piece of fruit through a gate, kind of a tall structure with an opening at the top, and then someone from the other team had a long stick and tried to bat it away to keep you from getting it through.
But not a sword. Like
no,
a fruit
it's just
ninja,
like a big stick.
Yeah, like a big stick to break the fruit.
Yeah.
I like this challenge. This is one where I wonder if some of these challenges where you had Mary and I had the question of could they bring this back for a future season. Some of these were specifically made with the Gabon landscape in mind, like the golf. No way. Yeah. Obviously, could they ever bring that back in a modern season without?
Well, they could. It would just be.
It would suck.
Yeah. It'd have to be like ocean golf or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
The distance they could go in Gabon is what made it so intriguing. Mm-hmm. But here, this is one of the challenges. I'm like, they could definitely do this one again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was easy but fun.
Yeah. And like there was a strategy to it. It wasn't mindless. It wasn't just like at some point the other tribe decided, if we throw two at once, we can outdo this one stick.
Right. Yeah.
So there was a hack to it, I guess. But yeah, this is a challenge I could definitely bring back.
And any fruit, basically, the person on the other side of the gate had to catch the fruit. If it landed on the ground, it didn't count. Then they put it in a bucket or basket, and whoever had the most fruit at the end won the challenge. And you got to keep all the fruit. So it was like a fun reward and challenge. I don't know. Well, that was interesting.
Sugar gets sent to exile for a third time. Dan, it says
it's personal. No, it's just for comedy. It's not a strategy.
Mostly for comedy reasons. Yeah. He's like, no, it's actually strategic, but I like.
But the first answer is probably true.
I feel like the first answer is definitely part of it. We can joke all we want, but there's truth to that joke. Back at camp, GC and Crystal have a little spat where Crystal says, "Eat your rice," and Crystal's kind of saying it playfully, but GC just takes things. I don't know. He was just on edge. He was taking it personally when she said, "Eat your rice," and he's like, "I'll do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do." And she's like, "Eat your rice," but she's like, she's not that serious. She's like joking in the way she's saying it.
Well, definitely the first time for sure.
Well, definitely the first time. The second time, like she's just repeating it. Like maybe he'll get the joke, but he does not get the joke. GC, man, it's just this episode. Because then he after that he disappears on the boat. Yeah, and they're like, GC, if you didn't come back, we were gonna leave in 5 minutes. Like, I'm wondering personally, could they have gone to the challenge without GC?
I don't know. It's never happened before. So
was production was like, oh crap, we were not ready for this one. What do you think? Production was going down the river trying to find him and calling him back?
I don't know.
I want to know the behind the scenes of this scene because if he wasn't there, would they have gone to the challenge and done it without GC? Of course, if GC doesn't come back, that just means he's quit the game. And they would obviously find him and pull him out, which is I think is what GC wanted anyways, because he ends up getting voted off this episode, but he wanted to be gone. He was done.
He was done.
He was done. You could tell, by the way, there's a lot of recruits on this season. GC, I believe, is one of them. Sugar definitely was. You hear it when she says the final tribal, like, I came to this game not even knowing how it worked. And now here I am at the end. It kind of reminds me of Courtney Yates from China, when Courtney Yates, like, I thought I'd be the first one voted off. I didn't even know how to play, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot of recruits. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. GC didn't really work out. But he gets voted off this challenge, or this episode. But I do want to circle back real quick. Another Gabon specific challenge they couldn't do in Fiji. It's the one where they're rolling the balls down the hill and the person's blindfolded with the shield.
Oh, yeah.
And Randy tricks Ace on the very last point because Fong has a lead. Mm-hmm. And then Coda, a.k.a. Randy, once again saves Coda, gets their act together. And I mean, I know there's a person holding a shield blocking it. And I know it's Dan, but we've seen Dan. This is Randy.
Yeah.
Dan is not the brightest bulb in the box in this season.
Well, the person who calls is super important in this challenge, and I still don't know why they picked Sugar.
Why?
She's not louder than Randy. She's not assertive. No. She's not confident.
Crystal would have been good.
That. Yeah.
Crystal can be loud.
Probably anybody would have been better than Sugar at
Crystal
this.
can be loud. Maddie could be loud. Why? Yeah, exactly. Why?
Because they wanted the strong people to throw down the hill, I guess.
Like
but
it matters.
It's a hill. It's going to roll down there.
Most of the work's being done for
Yeah.
you. To be fair, the harder you throw it, the faster it goes, giving them less time to react. But I feel like the first throw that became a non-factor, people were able to react fast enough that it came down to who the caller was.
Yeah.
This is a challenge, super cool. I know it will never happen again. I wish it could because I like it.
Yeah.
But this is a really cool challenge. Episode 5. Fong is so low on food, and now Kenny's acting like he said to eat less food the whole time. I wrote that down thinking that Kenny never agreed with Randy, but you're saying he did.
I am positive he did. I'm probably wrong because I'm so sure about it. But again, it would have been something like, yeah, I think he's right. But then nothing else was like, he didn't really back him up or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey guys, Randy's right. We should. Yeah, nothing like that. Sugar gives Ace her idol here because Sugar, while she plays an excellent game, makes terrible mistakes.
She's very easily swayed it seems like in the first couple of weeks.
She's definitely, she is easily swayed because as I said, I think she was recruited to the show. I haven't asked her personally. I don't having like interviews with her where she says this off the top of my head. But just based on what she says in the season, I believe it. There was a lot. They were doing a lot more recruiting post All-Stars, basically. And it doesn't really taper off until, I want to say the 40s. It's how crazy. That's so much recruiting. Too much recruiting, my opinion. Though the thing is, anyways, that's a whole other discussion our time. We're getting long in the tooth here anyways. Ace has his elephant confessional. Not that he's saying anything important during this confessional, but the elephant comes in from behind. It's just like
it was cool.
Cool moment, yeah. And you get Ace in his fluctuating accent to comment on it. It was like the perfect person, perfect elephant time.
Yeah.
You know. The next challenge is run around with a heavy snake. Now, the first time I watched this, I thought, man, I can't believe Crystal dropped out of the run. Like, she is definitely at fault. And don't get me wrong, Crystal is partially at fault for this loss. But Maddie is like not thinking, because he's, as you pointed out when we watched it, he's only holding like the tail of the snake.
He was holding the head.
Or the
he was
head
holding
of the snake?
like the first third of the body of the snake.
And Ace ends up with like with Crystal, him telling Crystal drop out. Of course, too many people dropped out. They were losing regardless of Crystal dropping out or not. Maddie is in my opinion, is mostly at fault for telling people to drop so aggressively because he wants to go faster. And don't get me wrong, they do need to go faster. But by telling people to drop out, he's putting all his weight on Ace. It's too much. Ace can't hold 3/4 of the snake by himself.
Yeah.
Maddie only feels like 1/4 of the snake on his shoulders.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just because he wasn't looking back or looking around, and it does suck when you have people who are not keeping up with you, and so you'd rather them gone so that you can go faster. I get that strategy too,
but this is like the one challenge that Crystal should have been good at.
Yeah, she should have kept up.
She struggled with running. Though, to be fair, she was wearing a dress in the first episode. And by the way, throughout this season, people's clothes go from like colorful to all being like the same dirt.
They're all brown,
gray,
tan,
black, brown. Yeah, by like late the season. I don't know if at this point we're there yet, but she was wearing like a dress and like she said 10-pound shoes. Why did she bring 10-pound shoes to Gabon or is beyond me? But whatever. Here, this is the challenge. This is the challenge where it's like if Crystal succeeded at this, you're like, okay, she sucked at everything else, but at least she was good at the thing she got a gold medal at. But she's not even good at this. This is running around a track.
This is endurance, not.
This is running around a track.
I know.
You think Maddie and Ace and all of Coda, Randy doesn't drop. Randy doesn't drop out. And Crystal's like, I can't believe they put me below Randy.
Yes, you're
like,
right.
Come on.
It's a little bit embarrassing.
Only for Crystal. Everyone else dropping out is whatever. Like, right. I don't have high expectations of everyone else. Just Crystal. The expectations are too high. That's what makes it so funny. I really appreciate Crystal this season. Crystal cries after they lose, and Randy's like eating the food. Like, I don't know who asked, by the way, who asked Randy for some of the food? Obviously he's going to say no, but who asked him? Because somebody asked him and I didn't catch who it was. You remember this?
I remember. I think somebody like said, kind of jokingly in passing as Jeff's handing them the food, like, will you share some?
And Randy took it to heart.
But yeah, no.
He's like, no. He's just like, Randy, he's just so smug.
Yeah.
And he has no shame about it. None. Nope. Him and Corinne, no shame about any of their faults. That's what makes it so beautiful. Fong loses again. Sugar goes to exile a fourth. Oh, I didn't write what the challenge was. I just wrote Fong loses immunity again. Sugar goes to exile a fourth time this episode. I think this is the episode where she cries about going there. Because Crystal cries about not getting food. And Sugar's going through, we haven't talked about this yet. Her father only died 7 months prior. Mm-hmm. And that is weighing on her heavily, as we will especially see in the last part of the season. But I think seeing other people suffer just really gets to her. Crystal crying. They keep losing over and over. And Sugar's like this huge basket of food. Like, I can't. She's like dying. I'm like, man, that sucks.
She feels guilty for eating the food.
I know. It's like survivor's remorse. Not like what if you survive like a car accident and everyone else dies is the only thing I could by the way, this is not that serious. It's the only thing I could relate it to in terms of why she'd be crying about this. Because I want to laugh at it, but I can't.
No. I mean, everyone's tired. Everyone's hungry. Everyone's frustrated. Mm-hmm. Everyone's emotional. It is a lot. And then she's sent to exile, which is being separated from her tribe anyway. So she feels alone.
For a fourth time in a row.
Yeah. It's like the scene from Harry Potter where Hermione's describing all the different emotions you can feel in 1 second. And Ron's like, you can't possibly feel all of that in 1 second. And yes, girls can feel lots of different emotions in 1 second. And the only way to deal with it is to cry.
I'm glad
for some people
you're on the podcast so you can give us that perspective.
You're welcome.
And with Ron, how do you feel all those emotions at once? All right. Kelly gets voted off. Nah. But one note I do have is Kelly calls Crystal unstable at Tribal. Kelly was not some bastion of stableness. Kelly also was a bit of a nut, though she wasn't a fun nut like so many people who make it later in the game. Kelly's just kind of annoying. Yeah.
She just complained right away as soon as she got to the new Fong about her previous Coda members. And at first everyone's like, oh, that's good because, we have an ally or whatever.
But she wouldn't stop.
But she just complained about everything, it seemed like. So, and was not in the boat challenge. She was just sitting there, I think, from what I remember, and couldn't do anything.
She was useless in challenges. There's only so much complaining one can take before they're just like, okay, like, can we talk about anything else?
Yeah, exactly.
So episode 6, Crystal spills the rice. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Crystal. I mean for as a viewer, not as a person on the island or whatever on the location. Thank you, Crystal. Just the drama. Because it's so much rice, and it goes in the dirt. A lot of rice. And this is Fong, where they don't have that much rice to begin with, where they've had to conserve it a lot. So we then get them eating rice. Ace offers it her rice. She says no. Mm-hmm. And I'm cutting ahead here a bit, but let's just do it, and I will circle back. We go to Tribal, because Fong, of course, loses again. We go to Tribal. Well, is this the double episode? Double Tribal? I think this is the double Tribal. Yeah, it is. So everyone's going to Tribal no matter what. So we go to Tribal, and Crystal's like, they didn't save me any rice. And Ace is like, I offered you rice. And she's like, well, yeah, I know I said no, but if you really wanted me to have rice, you would have saved me some. And it's like, bro.
Yeah, it's not a great argument, no matter, like, if it was a husband and a wife scenario and the wife is testing the husband, then he should, but this is not a husband-wife scenario.
And also, that's not a good way to have a marriage.
No, it's not. I'm saying even, like, that's the only situation where I can see that this happens or has happened. But she's acting like, Ace should know her innermost thoughts. Mm-hmm. And no, you are with a stranger that you just met. You told him twice that you don't want rice. He's not going to read your mind and save rice for you.
And you've only been on a tribe with him since day 10, it looks like.
Right, it's only been a few days.
And this is day 19, so you've been together maybe a week and a half. Day 20, day 19, day 20. So it's like, that's just insanity. Also, she's bringing that up. She's bringing that up on day 21, I want to point out. And it happened on day 19. So it's like literally 2 days later, we're over here still talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just let it go, man. Just seething over for days. That's why this season's so good. People are so salty, but it's like
about rice and cookies.
But they're so salty about things that are. This is what I like. It's only about Survivor specific things. It's not. It's not like. It's not outside. It's not real world issues being brought into the show. It's just all Survivor issues, and that's what makes it so fun. You know, it's not people bringing in things from the outside world or attacking people on a level that feels it's all within the game. That's what it feels like. So, especially the rice, of course, obviously, like it's so perfect. But yeah, this episode basically Sugar sent to exile for a record 5th time, which no one has broken since. And based on the way the show is going, I don't think they're going to bring back exile the same way they did it like they do here. So no one in the future will ever break this record. I think Sugar permanently has the record for most exile visits in a season. Not a huge spoiler for later seasons. Just nobody else is going 5 times. It's insane. Both tribes go in tribal council. They do the rolling log challenge, which ends with Marcus, our golden boy, winning immunity. And he gets to give a necklace to someone a Fong, and he gives it to Sugar. Giving her double immunity because she already had immunity and she has now that she has the necklace. So, man, I mean, here's a move here. Sugar got this necklace. She claims none of this thing in the game. Nothing. Like, if Sugar should have had like a resume, and I hate to say the word, but a resume of things that she did, she just claims nothing at the end of the game.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that was one she could claim. She could have claimed a lot of things, but I don't think she could claim that. She was given it because she was weak. And they wanted to keep weak players on their...
Okay, but just say that's a form of social manipulation. Because look, she's sitting at the end of Marcus on the jury. I think you got to claim every single thing you can. And you ain't got to say like it's a master level move. You just put it in your list of things. You don't say, oh, I expertly manipulated Marcus to give me... No, you just list it in the things.
I mean, she was one of the finalists in the log challenge, so...
Yeah, by the way, Ace... totally screwed. The way this was designed to have somebody standing in the middle where they can't look at both people's feet is just like this poorly designed tournament style, in my opinion. Either need to be done an episode earlier or an episode later so they can have an even number of people.
Yeah.
Because here having Ace in the middle is just the moment Sugar drops and it's just Ace and Marcus, like, even though I already knew, I mean, Ace had no chance. Because Marcus had the advantage of being able to see Ace's feet at all times. Ace couldn't see his, so. All right, when Ace is voted out, though, Sugar writes Ace hole. It's blurred out in the show. It's also blurred out in the raw voting confessionals from the DVD. So it must have been real. I didn't realize that was. I understand why it's cut out from the TV, but I was surprised it was cut out from the raw confessionals on the DVD where network rules don't apply. But yeah. Apparently, she wrote Ace hole, though, for those wanting to know what that word was. In case you didn't know, that was blurred. Well, it was blurred.
Yeah, no one has an imagination.
I'm not saying people don't have an imagination. I'm just saying.
I was surprised how quickly she felt betrayed by him. Because
Kenny really.
Because of Kenny.
Yep.
Which it was mostly all lies from what I remember. I don't think Ace was planning on turning on her at all.
I don't recall Ace ever. I mean, I'm sure Ace eventually might have. But I feel like if Ace lasted in this game, he would have probably taken Sugar to Final 3.
Yeah, because he thought she was not a great player.
Yeah, no one ever really viewed Sugar as a threat, which is why she gets no votes against her all game, and then at the end gets no votes for her.
Yeah.
But that's on her. She should have gotten some votes.
Yeah,
whether she wins or not, it's a different question, but she should have gotten some votes at the end. So for the Coda tribe, which we've almost completely ignored because while they are their own brand of weird, they're not the mess that Fong is. Susie tells Corinne she was going to vote for her. To her face, because Susie, as we learn, is honest to a fault. Says everything that's on her mind, and I don't know anyone like this.
No, me either.
Can you elaborate on your joke, Mary?
It's you.
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Hi, I'm the Susie. It's me. That really dated this podcast. Yeah, whenever somebody asks me how I do on Survivor, I'm either an early boot or I'm Susie. Apparently.
You're not Susie.
Oh, I'm not Susie. I mean, I'm not Susie, but I'm saying that the flaws that Susie had, I think I would run into. I think I'd be better than her in Final Tribal, though, but it's only because I have the perspective of 40, plus seasons.
Sure.
Versus her having just 16. And it's like, without the ability to easily rewatch them all and it's a different time, different place. But yeah, Susie and I can relate too much to each other. Corinne says, though, she wanted to stab Susie in the face when she told her this. And then later Corinne's like, oh, I appreciate how Susie was honest with me. Yeah. Corinne, just a bastion of, I don't know. I can't think of the word for it.
Backstabbing?
No, just like, yeah, Corinne.
Two-faced?
Yeah, two-faced, I guess the word. Yeah. Corinne is amazing, by the way, on Instagram. One of my few recommended follows I'll give. This is as of time of recording. I can't speak for any future posts she makes, but Corinne on Instagram is pretty gold with her. She's still the same person, basically. Whether it's a character that she's playing or not, I don't care. She's still funny in the same way.
Still someone you would follow and I would not, if that helps anyone at all.
Yeah, that helps you decide. No, I can't recommend everybody. Like Bob, for example, as of the time of recording, could change in the future, really likes to do the thing where you comment on people's political posts and try to like burn them, which is so weird because like you don't get that vibe from Bob during the season, but then you see him on social media and you're like, it's not fun. It's really just not fun.
Yeah.
I'm here for the fun follows. Corinne's a fun follow. So Randy, the same thing too. Randy during the season, during a Survivor season goes live, will say the most Randy things. And people from the season are like, please pick me, Randy, to like root for. And Randy says like the most just like grumpy old man things. But it's like it's almost like Randy's playing it up. Like that is him, but also he's kind of playing it up at this point too. So Randy is also a recommended follow. Surprisingly, I did not think I would say that, but he's become a recommended follow. So next time on Survivor, Dan gets voted off, by the way. He was an erratic mess this season. And I have to mention, because it will be mentioned otherwise, Dan does pass away, I believe in 2015, 2016, that time frame. And there's no clear reason why. Usually that is because it wasn't like he didn't pass away from natural causes. Mm-hmm. Usually what that means. Usually. Cannot speak on for certain what happens to Dan, but yeah, Dan does pass away. He's like one of the first, not the first, but one of the first survivors to pass away.
That sucks.
I think he's like I want to say, because it was like Jen from Palau was first, then BB Anderson. I want to say Dan was third or fourth. Maybe I'm fourth because he was third or fourth. But anyways, it was really early. It was like kind of a shocker. We're now to the point though where a lot more people have passed away since then. So, but at the time it was like kind of like, wow, he was only 40 too,
Yeah, that's crazy.
40 is what I'm saying, not 42, yeah, 40.
40.
Yeah. Next time on Survivor shows them nude in the ocean. And this is at the fake merge feast. Mm-hmm. But then at the fake merge feast, we don't ever see them nude in the ocean. So next time on Survivor actually shows you something that you aren't going to see. It promises nudity in the ocean and it does not deliver.
It's like all next time on Survivors. They're all lies.
Are they? Oh, well, yeah, they try.
Misleads.
They do mislead, because there's that one where Bob like tells Corinne that fake story, remember? And then she's like, is that true? And he's like, no, but it sounded good. He says that in the episode. But in the next time on Survivor, they cut off right before he says that. So it makes it sound like he's tricking Corinne.
But at least they showed it in the episode.
Yeah, it was the scene. They just, perfectly timed cut. But here, they show them nude in the ocean next time on Survivor in episode 6. There is no nudity. So in case you ever skip next time on Survivor, this is one to go back and look at. Straight up, multiple people. It's not one person. Multiple people are swimming nude in the ocean, and they cut it out of the episode, and I don't know why.
Because it's not important to the story.
Why promise me potential Randy nudity and not deliver? That's all I'm saying.
No one cares about that.
Episode 7, we get the fake merge feast. There's the idol clue on the table. Kenny acts like he should have been able to read it. He tried reading it at the table, and then he got annoyed that other people wanted to read it. But like, he was trying to read it at the table. Like, he had a note in his hand to read it. Like, dude, you got to take it and you got to slip it in your pocket.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. And it's actually would have been a bad thing. If he slipped in his pocket, he would come back to camp and be like, oh, the idol's back at that beach. Right. So I guess it was meant to be read right there. So they read it. Randy, without even looking at the note, finds the idol. Mm-hmm. He's like, I know it's in that weird spot over there. Finds it. Randy, this is the peak of Randy's storyline. At this time, Coda has 6 people. Fong has 4. Coda says, we're riding to 6 to the end. We're going to eliminate the 4 Fongs back to back to back. And that's it. That's game. That's how this is going. And I want to say, it seems very clear that people are willing to throw this game to Marcus. There were multiple people who were upset that Marcus gets voted out as if he's owed this game. because Marcus gets voted off this episode. Mm-hmm. I know you noticed that. Did you notice that as well? I feel like you did.
Yeah, we talked about it because of how dramatic the reaction was.
Well, I know we talked about it. I mean, on the podcast we haven't talked about it. So I want to get your opinions on this because it definitely felt like people were ready to hand him the game.
Especially this episode, there was a lot of, oh, Marcus, he's just so amazing. And, oh, I can't wait to see if Marcus made it. And, oh, maybe we should throw this challenge so that we can vote off one of the old Fong and Marcus will be safe and a bunch of stuff like that. So his name got brought up a lot. I'm sure part of it was the editing because Marcus was going to go, but it was there. It was already there. Yeah. So people from Coda just loved Marcus, thought he was amazing, thought he was the best, wanted to keep going with him. And he probably would have won if he had made it farther, but so obviously it was a good decision for Fong too, new Fong to vote him off.
This season was going to be very predictable if they didn't do a fake merge. I remember when we watched this originally, I was annoyed they faked us out with the merge, but in retrospect, I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because the way the season was going to go was going to be a Pagonging a Fong. And
Susie made the decision to flip here from Coda to the new Fong.
Well, we got to mention because they do another tribe swap.
Later.
During at this table. That's the one the merge feast ends. We do a tribe swap for one episode.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I thought we already mentioned that.
Oh, no. I if we did, I'm sorry. I don't think we did.
No, you're probably right. We didn't. But Susie makes the decision here to flop and vote out Marcus. So now there's only 5 original Coda and 4 Fong. But with her switching, it becomes 5 Fong, quote unquote Fong, and then 4 Coda because she's switched. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she switched.
Yeah.
No, I understand that the numbers, but it was still a risk for her because she thought she felt like she was on the bottom of the tribal. And this is where she started to position herself to get to the end. And I was saying it was a good move for her. Oh,
Susie plays a good game. She just isn't liked.
Right.
Which means she played just a good game. I can't say a great game.
Yeah.
We can all thank Susie for the second half of this season being as good as it is. Because without her, it was going to be a Pagonging. Straight up, thank you, Susie. Thank you. This is the 3rd season in a row where the apple in the Garden of Eden is mentioned. Here at this merge feast mentioned. The last 2 seasons, James mentioned it. Mm-hmm. Here, it was obviously not James because he's not in the season, but I just thought that was interesting. 3 seasons in a row. Someone says something about the apple in the Garden of Eden.
Well, it also helps that they call Gabon the Garden of Eden several times.
To be fair, this is a season where, yes, Earth's last Eden. So, but I'm just saying, it's not mentioned in Tokachins. I don't know if it's ever mentioned again. Just interesting that was mentioned 3 seasons in a row. So, Randy's idea is to throw the idol in the ocean that they find. Though Marcus is actually the one who physically throws it in the ocean. Mm-hmm. Oh, the irony.
Right.
With him going out this episode.
Yep.
Man, oh man, could he have used that idol? Bet you he felt like an idiot after that. Surprise tribe swap. Yeah. So this is the challenge. I do see. The thing is, we just watched the finale right before we recorded this, and I'd kind of forgotten Susie had been overly honest with everyone. Because even this episode, I wrote Susie's being overly honest with everyone. It's her major flaw, apparently.
I think this is where Marcus came up to her and was talking to her. It was Marcus or somebody from pre-Coda, and she just tells him, "Yeah, I could go with you guys, or I could go with a Fong." And, I'm going to do whatever's best for my game, which is true, but you just never tell people that. Just like 101, I think. Susie's
the kind of person who in real life you appreciate the honesty. Yeah. But in the game of Survivor, you're like, stop saying those things, people.
Right.
If you want to win, stop it. So Crystal drops out of the challenge after 1 second, which was hilarious. But Maddie single-handedly, it's the only time he does this all season, single-handedly wins a challenge that saves Fong. And once again, we can thank Maddie and Susie this episode for saving the rest of the season. Because if Maddie blows it here, Fong goes to tribal, that's game again. Coda still would have the numbers. Because he gives the option, Susie's able to flip on Marcus. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Susie. This is such an important episode. I didn't realize that till we rewatched it this time, how important this one episode is.
Yeah.
Crazy. The next episode, they have the golf reward challenge, which it starts and I said out loud, oh, this is a good challenge, but I didn't tell you why. Because it ends with this.
That was ridiculous.
Can you explain this dramatic fight between Randy, Maddie, and Charlie?
So it's golf, but without putts or whatever you call
They're
it,
doing
golf
like a
clubs.
slingshot ball.
It's like a slingshot. So you slingshot the ball as far as you can, and whoever gets it in the hole with the lowest amount of shots. Anyways, Maddie is the one shooting the ball, and Randy and was it Kenny?
And keep in mind, they've already made 2 goals. They're in the lead.
Yes.
And one of the goals they did was from a foot away. I think on the first or second hole, they did one from a foot away already.
Yes.
Like a super close one.
Right, where you don't even have to pull back. You just literally have to kind of toss it in without tossing.
This has already happened.
Yes. And so the ball landed next to the hole. It's right there. You could just like pick it up and toss it, but they have to use the sling.
You could push it in.
Yeah. All they had to do was hold the sling over and then let go of the sling, and it would have dropped. I don't know if it said in the rules that there had to be tension on the rope or whatever.
Jeff never said that.
He never said it, so I don't know. But they're sitting there for like 5 minutes arguing about how to get a ball 1 inch from the sling into the hole.
And it's mostly Randy.
It's just ridiculous.
He's like, Charlie, get tension on it. Charlie, Maddie, I need you to like Randy's like, chill out.
Yeah. It was so dramatic for no reason. Like and this wasn't even immunity. This was a reward.
No, this is just for reward.
It's just like, come on.
Also, I was baffled that they didn't do the merge before this challenge, because they do merge this episode. But this is the last challenge you do as tribes, which I thought was kind of late in the game.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
But it works out because they do win despite their ridiculous fight. They go to the reward where they get food and they get to dance with like the locals, and Randy's like, I think this one woman's into me. I haven't had a girl come on to me in like 20 years, but I was dancing with her and I think she likes me. It's just like, oh man, Randy is gold this season. Gold, I say.
I'm glad you enjoy him.
I really do. This is why you're here though. You're a good contrast to me. So finally they merge, and Bob. This happens all in the same time frame. After Corinne suggests the Fong name change, Jeff adheres to it. She suggested the Fong name change in the last episode 7. He actually adheres to it here in episode 8. Not that it lasts very long, but he calls them Fang for like a challenge. Bob goes to exile and makes a beautiful fake immunity. Like even today, I think the thing that's today, people expect a note. So you couldn't get away with it anymore. Though I think if you're smart, you get it. And let's say you're playing, you get an idol, you keep the note. If you're going to put a fake idol, you put the fake idol with the note. But Bob didn't have the luxury of having a note. So he's just hoping and praying that somebody would just fall for a fake idol, which they will. But that was a really good idol.
He did a great job. Yeah.
He did 2 really good fake idols. And I cannot believe anybody would fall for the second one. I don't think anybody really did.
No.
But because he had already the surprise had been blown with the first one. Anyways, so he goes to exile, makes a really good fake idol, though he does not understand that Sugar, who has been there 5 times. I mean, Dan went there once, but I think everyone kind of assumed Dan didn't get the idol. Sugar went there 5 times, and he's just like, I got through all these clues, and I just couldn't find the idol. Like, he thought it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Even he didn't know that Sugar got the idol.
This is just stuff that undercuts him as being like what people would consider a good winner. Did he earn the win? Yes. Is he like, would you rank him high in the winner rankings? No, because of just things like this, like common sense. Obviously, Sugar's been here 5 times. She's got the idol. It's too many times not getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think other people had already assumed she had it anyway. So finally they merge. We then have what is one of my personal favorite of mine, the fire making challenge, but it's an actual immunity challenge, not a tiebreaker. Though I do appreciate when it's just a tiebreaker, not forced, but like when they vote and it's like, okay, the only way to break it is with the tie. But I really like that it was an immunity challenge. I wish they would do this again. But by doing it again, I mean replacing the now current forced fire making challenge that they do at Final Four currently in Survivor. Yeah. I wish they would replace it with just doing the Final Four immunity is the fire making.
I wonder if it's because it could just be so short and it's not as dramatic. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super dramatic when only Susie and Sugar, which I thought was interesting. Only Susie and Sugar got a fire going, and Susie, of course, wins.
Yeah.
But Susie and Sugar are the only one to get their fires going. It really shows you how bad everyone else is. And I like that. I like that it exposes how good everyone here is at this very basic task. And Susie's the best at it.
Yeah, probably because she did it every day.
At the Final Four, it's a darn good thing Bob didn't have to face Susie or Sugar in that Final Four fire making, because We saw those two can make fire. And Bob gets a banging fire going at the end. Maybe he learned along the way. We saw him practicing at some point, but yeah, Susie clearly, good thing nobody's messing with her at fire making tiebreaker because she dominates this challenge. Back at camp, it ends up being a war for sugar, is what it seems like, to get the numbers. Sugar sides. I don't know why I wrote this. Sugar sides with not Coda. Did she say she sided with not Coda? I don't know. I wrote that very specifically. Not Fong, just not Coda.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Charlie gets voted off though. Thus ends his. Well, when Marcus got voted off, it kind of ended the storyline. But because Charlie's storyline really was just, I'm into Marcus. Marcus is hot. I want to be Marcus's best friend forever. And that was Charlie. And it's unfortunate. I feel like Charlie's probably more of a character and a human than that, but that's all they portrayed him as in the show. So
basically.
Yep. At this point, though, we pretty much have retained everybody who's a big character in the show. Personally, like the only person voted off so far who I thought was a big character, you could argue Dan, though Dan wasn't really that appealing as a character in the show for me.
No.
Ace is the only character so far who I'm like, kind of wish he made it further, but I'm glad he didn't make it to the end because he would have gotten annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Too much Ace would have been bad. So here we are, episode 9, another huge crucial episode for Gabon. At the auction, let's talk about this first. At the auction, Sugar is just screwing with Randy for funsies multiple times. Mm-hmm. The first instance was the beer and peanuts. He could have won it for like $100, and she's like 120. So he goes 140. She's like 160. He gets it for 180, I think. And she's like, I was just bidding up just to screw with him. I'm like, Sugar, stop telling people you're doing this. Just do it and don't say anything.
Yeah, it'd be one thing to do it and then say it in your confessional later or later tell someone, but right in front of everyone and then just be like giggling and then try to do on other items. It's just like, it's just
Sugar
a big,
can't stop
you still have to live with these people.
Yeah.
Just because he's a jerk to you doesn't mean that you being a jerk to him will make the situation better.
This is what I mean when I say I'm like 99% sure Sugar was recruited because she's playing like she doesn't understand how this game has to end. Or if she wants to win, that's the thing. Does she want to win? I don't know. I mean, based on Final Tribal, I would argue she didn't want to win that badly.
I don't think so.
So, Kenny gets all of Bob's money because he sends him to exile. The same twist we saw in Micronesia where Natalie sent Jason to exile, which was a huge deal because they didn't want Jason to get immunity and they still sent him. And it's like, what are you doing, Natalie? But here, Kenny sends Bob to exile, which of course doesn't mean anything except that Bob's still confused that I don't know where the idol's at. Kenny gets all of his money and then the whole auction, time and time again, he's bidding and bidding and he just gives up.
Yep.
Kenny walks out of this. I think he walks out of the auction with he won this bid to get the one where he gets to send Bob to exile. So he ends the auction with like $800 in pocket, which is cool if he still had it after the season, but he got nothing out of this auction with all that money.
He was being too conservative. It's so hard. I feel like I would do the same thing, just keep waiting for something better to come up, but then it ends so quickly usually. It's just like it's not worth it.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8 items.
Yeah.
So
and why are you letting other people, like he's not in an alliance with Corinne. Why did he let her get the advantage?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Not that it ends up making a big difference, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, he wasn't thinking. I don't know.
Because this is why I'm saying I think. Okay, so as I said, first half of the season, it seems like Kenny is influenced because we haven't talked about every instance of it. If Kenny gets a video, it will be hammered as many times as he says it. But I think the attractiveness of a woman does affect Kenny's decision making, and that could be part of it with Corinne. He's never explicitly says it about Corinne, but if you can.
But it wasn't just Corinne. Sorry for interrupting.
No,
he also let Maddie get a reward, that spaghetti and garlic. He let Maddie do it. And there was one other person he was betting against. I think it was Randy for the cookie. Or no, I don't know. But I'm just saying he did it
it wasn't Randy for the cookies.
It wasn't Randy.
That was just the first $20.
But like 3 different times he did it and he let the other person get it.
I wasn't saying this specifically. This specifically is Corinne because he does do it to multiple people. I'm just saying that I want to bring that up now before I forgot about it. I think Corinne's attractiveness does affect some of his decision making with her in this game, though it's never explicitly said about her like it is about other women. But just the way Kenny is this season, I feel like it has an effect. Sure. It depends on how you feel about Corinne as a person. I the position Kenny's in, I don't know. I don't want to say too much about him. I just think in the season, I feel like it had an effect. But that is me reading into things. He has never explicitly says that, so I want to be clear. Okay, so Maddie says Randy nor Corinne can win challenges. Oh, this is after the auction. Oh, let's talk about the cookie incident. That's after the auction. First $20 wins cookies. Or first $20 wins a plate. Randy wins. He goes up there and he's like, I can have all these. And Jeff's like, for the tribe, Randy. Like he says it like that to really emphasize this is not just for you. He's like, okay, offer sugar cookie. She says, no thanks. Or no. I don't know. She says thanks. Can't add that word in. He then gives one to everyone else. Corinne gets a cookie and a half. Then Maddie gets a cookie and a half. All the cookies are gone with the exception of now one cookie, which is Randy's cookie. Because Sugar's half of her cookies gone to Corinne, half her cookies gone to Maddie. She takes the last cookie, gives it to Maddie. Maddie gets 2.5 cookies out of this deal. Sugar gets none, not that she wanted any. And Randy gets none, and he definitely wanted one. I think both parties are at fault.
Yeah.
And I think Maddie gets the best deal out of all of it because he gets 2.5 cookies scot-free.
Well, Sugar's the most at fault, but Randy's also at fault.
Yeah, Randy, it was almost like he offered her the cookie again at the end so that she could, thinking she was going to say no, is my assumption, to make it really seem like he's the good guy. And she took advantage of this to further burn a juryman member because that's all she's doing here. Purposely being a jerk in front of everybody to Randy. And Jeff's like, I guess it worked out the way it worked out. Jeff's not there to like fix anything. He's like, no, you've offered it.
They made their own decisions.
I love when Jeff just lets them burn themselves. It's my favorite.
I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, he could have been like, hey, Sugar, that was actually Randy's. I said it was for the trial. But no, I'm glad he didn't. Yeah, I'm glad Jeff just is like more hands off. So, just Maddie gets 2.5 cookies though. I'm back at camp. Randy's like, you know what, Maddie, I'm not even mad at you.
Well, he seemed a little mad.
He's a little ticked, but he's more ticked at Sugar, so therefore Sugar gets the brunt.
Sure.
But Maddie gets 2.5 cookies basically scot-free. Maddie says Randy nor Corinne can win challenges, and he says, let's vote off Bob next. Little does Maddie know.
Yep.
I mean, he's right.
No, he was right.
He was right. Randy nor Corinne are a threat to go on a challenge run. Bob, because of what he's shown in previous challenges, being pretty competent at them. Heck, he went toe-to-toe with Maddie. I think it's probably what Maddie's thinking of top ahead. He went toe-to-toe with Maddie on the challenge that Maddie won in the prior episode, or 2 episodes ago, where Marcus goes. So Maddie knows Bob is not some scrub at challenges. Maddie's right. Little does he know, that vote, if they actually done it, could have changed everything. But it was too enticing to trick Randy at the idol.
Yep, unfortunately.
I mean, Maddie didn't have a big say in that. And he was, it was just, they left that in because he's right. They should have voted off Bob. Yeah. He really is the biggest challenge threat. Who knew? I mean, Bob's 57 here. Randy is trying to trick everyone into voting for him. Just the irony of all this. Randy's trying to do his best to annoy people to vote for him because he thinks he's going to play Bob's idol because he does legitimately ask Bob at some point, hey, do you have the idol? But for quite a while, he just assumes Bob has the idol. Mm-hmm. He didn't ask. He just assumed and he went forward with this plan without conferring with Bob before doing the plan. He's executing it before he knows for a fact Bob has it.
I think either way he was going to do it because he was just ticked at people. He just wanted to cause drama.
And Sugar had snapped him.
Yep.
Yeah. So Randy's like, I'm personally going to get people to vote for me. So Sugar and Bob conspire to trick Randy. And Bob later, says this was a strategic move, but I didn't like how Sugar handled it. But
well, at the time, because Bob was on the outs here, and it seemed like Bob was just going to go along with it because he said this is going to make Sugar happy and she's going to keep me around longer.
Yeah.
So he felt like he was on the bottom and was going to be going soon, and one was just trying to get some clout with Sugar.
Sugar's the head here, believe it or not. Despite people not really liking her, she's the head of the strategy around here.
Yeah.
And Bob is her lackey. He admits to it later, and you see it multiple times. He even says yes dear to her when she said, she's in charge.
Yeah.
It's weird because she's in charge, and yet, but Bob basically bends to her will. And then later tries to claim that, I didn't like the way she handled it. But, Randy said at Final Tribal, you didn't have to do it. You had the votes anyways.
Yeah.
It was, so just admit it. It was just for fun. Or it was just to make me look like an idiot, an idiot. Mm-hmm. And it is. I mean, what else was the point of this fake idol? What else was the point of it? It wasn't like I'm giving you a fake so you don't play your real one or something.
Right.
I mean, had he played the fake and he just played his real one. But you get the idea. It wasn't to like stop him from playing a real idol or something like that. It was just for fun. And I like it, by the way. It made for a great episode. Because we get our famous confessionals for voting, which, Mary, I texted you today, and you said, oh, I don't... I mean, it's not what you said, but it's what you meant. You said, oh, I don't appreciate these.
Basically. I'm at work, and I randomly get, I hate you, and I wish you were gone forever.
No, it was... You have made my life hell since day one. Forget you. Go home. Goodbye. I texted that to Mary today, and she did not appreciate that. She didn't appreciate the other text, which said, this is not strategic. This is strictly personal. Nor does she appreciate the sugar rant, which I cannot quote word for word at the moment because I don't know it, but I wrote it down. It was something about Randy's an alcoholic bigot who needs to grow up or he'll die alone. Loser, which is like the most teenager thing to say while telling someone else to grow up. She also needs, it's like the irony, but no, everyone's so unaware. So it makes it perfect. And then, of course, Corinne saying Susie payback's a B. So it's a whole thing. I sent all those to Mary today. She did not. I mean, not. I feel like you should appreciate my terrible texts.
Not quite the Valentine's text I was expecting.
I was gonna say what day it was, but you've now revealed the day. All right. So yeah, Sugar cannot stop laughing. Like there's just no. This is not like the Ace jacket on, jacket off episode. They can't cut around it. Sugar can't stop laughing.
Yeah. They wouldn't cut around. They wouldn't cut around.
No, I'm saying that it's not like a trick of the editing.
Yeah. Sugar
can't stop laughing. It's in every shot from the moment Jeff asks, she can't stop.
Yeah.
Yep. They cut to that wide of Randy handing it to Jeff, and Sugar's just over there busting a gut. I mean, Randy he has no clue. And later on, by the way, post game, Randy says that, oh no, he knew it was fake the whole time. But no. I went back and rewatched this. I'm like, was it a trick of the editing, the way he reacted? No. This is genuine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he's just I don't know how that would save face. I guess just,
to know that I'm playing a fake.
Why would you play it if you knew it was fake?
Because Eliza in Micronesia played a fake. But the way Eliza reacted, I mean, obviously, we also saw her tell Jason, hey, this is just a stick, And he's like, no, it has a face on it. But we knew, Eliza already knew this is likely a fake. I'm going to play it anyways just in case Jason is right.
Right.
But I know this is likely a fake. So when it gets played and Jeff throws it in a fire, Eliza's like, well, that means Ozzy has the idol. That's a reaction that says, I know that was a fake.
Yeah.
I was already ready for that to be a fake. I was just playing just in case it wasn't.
Right.
This is not the reaction from Randy of, I knew this was a fake the whole time. No. This is the reaction of, I thought it was real. I trusted Bob. Bob burned me. That's what this is. Yep. Yeah. I don't buy. That's why you can never trust post-game interviews ever, to be completely honest. You have to take them all with a grain of salt. You have to take the edit with a grain of salt, but definitely the post-game interviews. So people try to retroactively make themselves look smarter. I'm sure I would do the same, by the way. I'm sure I would be no different, whether purposeful or accidental. All right. So we move to the next episode. Bob is mad at Sugar specifically for humiliating Randy.
I think Bob also feels bad
guilty
for being a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's more so what it is, more so than Sugar. I think had Sugar not laughed, Bob would have felt guilty, but he might have internalized it more. But because Sugar was openly laughing and openly, it was just like Bob had someone to vent his frustrations to. We then get loved one videos, which I think after like 3 videos, Jeff's like, you guys can all come over and watch them with me. I want to point out, and Mary saw this with me, I don't think the phone has any signal there. And so this is another like trick of just watch the video. So every time it cuts to the video starting, on the screen it says what time it is. It says it's 10:20 or 10:21 p.m. Because how they filmed it was, I assume Jeff's holding the phone, though I could be wrong. I feel like those close-ups are probably Jeff's hand. He does his own stunts. When he presses play on the video, it shows the time on the top of the phone, the Sprint phone, or whatever this phone is. And it shows 10:20, but it's broad daylight outside. So if it had any signal there in Gabon, it would not say that. So it's just a fun aside, but also clearly based on the time shown, 10:20, 10:21, it was like, start the video, let it go for 5 seconds, pause the video, pick the next video, start the video. Just one of those like behind the scenes things. They didn't have to tell us, but if you look at the time on the phone, it tells you everything about how they filmed this. So Not that Mary cares, but I think it's interesting. Nope. But I think it's interesting for those who always want to go like behind the scenes stuff. It's a little behind the scenes thing that you can catch just by watching the show. So they fake out Bob. I'm not sure how, because Bob wins the challenge. He's sitting on a couch with food. He didn't get to take anyone with him. Did he really think they were just going to have him watch a video? I mean, but it's so funny because his wife in the video is like, hold on, let me go get something. He's like, where'd she go? What's she going to get? And it's like so sweet.
It was
because I'm not sure if they could have faked out everyone. I don't think they could have, but they definitely faked out Bob. Yeah. Bob's like, where'd she go? Like they're live streaming a conversation or something. So his wife really pops out from behind, and they're so sweet together. And I remember you in the moment, you were like, oh, all those people were there in Gabon and they didn't get to see them. And I'm like, yep, they don't get to see them. But I really appreciate that they all got to see them. Yeah. Because we get the great moment between Maddie and his girlfriend. Yeah. Which I didn't even mention, but you saw it as well. I believe it was like 4 or 5, 6 episodes earlier. We saw him making a ring. Mm-hmm. Like that's how serious he was. And so he proposed to his girlfriend. I think it was a really sweet moment.
That's sweet.
And it makes it extra sweet knowing that they got married a year later and they're still, as far as I'm aware, they're still married to this day. Oh. So yeah, I really like when a romance happens and it's still like, it's like Boss, Rob, and Amber, whatever you think about him, Amber's sweet and they're still married today. It's just like, you know, it makes All Stars have that little touch of sweetness it needs. Because had it all been for show and they got broke up 2 months later after that season would be even more dark. You know, and he proposed, she won, and they're not even still together. But no, like they're still married with like 4 kids. Like that's great. And like here, Maddie proposed, and it makes the moment in the show even sweeter knowing, you know, it's still today they're married. So, which is really cool. So, true. Yeah, it was just a great moment. In the secret scenes from this episode specifically, you get a lot of Corinne, which is a shame it wasn't in the show because Corinne goes off on people to her brother, and her brother is just like, this is classic Corinne.
She goes off about people
about everyone else in the game.
Yeah.
She just goes on a Corinne tangent. It's a shame that secret scene didn't make it in the show, but I could also see how that would not really vibe with Maddie proposing to his girlfriend. Yeah. You can't cut from Corinne going off on everybody and hating everybody and telling her brother about how she hates everybody to Maddie proposing, or vice versa, Maddie proposing. So they had to like choose. They're like, okay, do we go with Corinne tangent or Maddie proposing? It's Maddie proposing, obviously. Yeah. Much better moment. So yeah, I just want to point out, this is one of those secret scenes I did put in the Gabon Secrets videos. Highly recommend watching with Corinne. It is pretty funny for those who appreciate Corinne at all. Okay, so this is the first episode where Bob wins an immunity challenge. He wins his first immunity win this episode. Cool. Yep. Bob makes a second fake idol, and this time it didn't really trick anybody, but he just come up with that fake story to tell Corinne, which we saw next time on Survivor. But it was kind of convoluted, and it was kind of late in the game to be trying to introduce the Marcus story.
Right. It was a terrible story, but somehow it made Kenny and Crystal flip over to Bob's side, and I forget who they voted out.
Another move he didn't claim, by the way, at Final Tribal. He could have.
Yeah, exactly. This was all his idea. And when, I think Charlie asked him what was the one move that you made.
He couldn't name a thing.
He said, I don't know, I didn't really have to do anything. This was like his shining moment.
Besides his fake idol, which he also could have claimed.
Yeah, he could have claimed. That really was Sugar's idea, though. He couldn't have claimed this. This was all his idea. Yeah. And because he went and told Corinne about it, and then Corinne went and talked to Kenny about it, and then they both went and talked to Crystal about it, it flipped the game, and he didn't get voted out that episode.
So Crystal didn't end up flipping. Corinne still got voted out, but it did cause the whole thing with Kenny and brings our endgame drama with Kenny because Crystal didn't flip. Corinne still gets voted off. Sorry,
you're right. Corinne still gets voted off, but it brings him into an alliance with Kenny and with Crystal. Quasi.
And Kenny trusts Bob here on out because of this. And then Kenny gets burned because he trusts Bob. And yeah, I mean, it's maybe not the greatest move, but it is better than saying I didn't have to do anything. Yeah. Which is because it's not true because nothing. He does more. Right. Yeah. He's not the greatest, but he does more than he claims. So Corinne gets voted out. Wah, wah, wah. Very unfortunate, but it's hard not to have good people voted off when the rest of the cast is so good, with the exception of maybe Susie. Though I know there are some Susie stands out there. So episode 11 starts, and this is Kenny had been good for me through 10 episodes. This is where he gets annoying.
Yeah.
Kenny starts calling himself a mastermind. He gets a really big head here. It's too much.
He was doing well. He got a little cocky, and then he got a little conniving with the whole, well, I want Bob's idol, and he's not going to give it to me, and I'm going to vote him out. He just got really whiny.
To be fair, Bob offers Kenny. Kenny doesn't ask. Bob offers Kenny his immunity necklace if he wins to make up for the whole Corinne thing. Because I do think it's part of why Kenny flipped, by the way, to Corinne, because she's an attractive woman. And I think Kenny is a little bit more persuaded if you're an attractive woman. It's not said in the show, just based on what we've seen previously. So that's what I was saying earlier. I think it tied into why he flipped over to vote with Bob and Corinne. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to insert things. My assumption. So Kenny calls himself a mastermind. He gets really whiny here, as you said, or maybe I said too. On reward, Bob, Crystal, and Kenny get their clothes cleaned, and man, oh man, is it night and day between clean clothes and dirty clothes this season? Because all the color comes right back. I mean, they're more washed out than they were originally, but it was like everyone's clothes had become the same color, no matter what color they started out in this game, which just shows you how dirty this environment really was. Which you may not notice it, but just adds like a layer of like, wow, no, they're really out there suffering, especially when you get like Susie and Corinne specifically. Their chests become black because of how dirty it is out there, and that's the thing poking the furthest forward. I mean, just straight up, you have to notice it. Or at least I do, as a man. I don't know if Mary noticed it.
Yeah, I noticed it.
Okay, just want to throw that out there. All right, moving on. Mary's giving me looks. All right, Sugar hates Maddie getting bullied and decides to switch the game. And this is a huge switch.
Again, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. She makes a lot of moves. Yeah.
She does, and she claims none of them. All right, she hates that Maddie's getting bullied and decides to switch the game and says she wants to bring him to Final 3 now. Which we know is not what happens, but Maddie was probably going to go here if she didn't do this.
Right.
So she does save him, though. Crystal's poor challenge performance. It's not in the show. Crystal's poor... All right, so this is the challenge, Mary, where they're blindfolded and they're on the course. And you finally cracked and started laughing at Crystal during challenges. Finally. Because she's blind and she can't stay on the course, and neither is Susie, but it's Crystal specifically. I wrote Mary's finally laughing at Crystal's challenge performance.
She keeps doing the same thing. She kept walking out of the course through Susie's lane, and I just don't. I can't even comprehend. Mary
sounds annoyed now, but in the moment, Mary was laughing out loud. She couldn't stop.
That is not true. I was just annoyed.
Like when Randy played the fake idol and Sugar couldn't stop laughing, that was Mary during this moment. Not me. You can say no all you want, but I was right there witnessing it. Now she's giving me looks, but it's true. I was there. All right, Bob wins immunity number 2. And at some point, you said that Bob reneged his deal, saying that, because Bob says, Kenny, I'll give you immunity if I win it. And at some point, I don't remember when it was, but you said you remembered, so I was going to, hopefully you could bring it up. Bob changed the deal.
No. What happened was Bob went on reward with Crystal and Kenny, and Kenny says to Bob,
"Oh,
you don't have to give me your idol, Bob." And Bob said, "Hey, are you sure? Because I did offer." And Kenny said, "No, you don't have to. If I feel like I'm in danger, I'll ask you for it, and then you can give it to me."
Which explains Bob's wording at this tribal council.
And Bob says, "Okay." So Bob did agree at that point to give it to him if Kenny felt like he needed it. But then Bob gets back to camp and Sugar tells him, hey, they just want your idol so they can vote you out.
Yeah.
Obviously. Like,
Sugar, once again, changing the game.
Right. Don't believe them. So when Kenny comes up to him, and it's like the fakest acting ever.
Oh, Bob, I wrote Kenny's acting is so bad.
I really feel like it's going to be me tonight. And Bob's like, it's not going to be you tonight. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm not giving you an idol. And so then Kenny feels, you lied to me and yada, yada, yada.
It's not believable.
It's not. It isn't. And Bob shouldn't have made the promise in the first place, but I really don't feel like he went back on it. I feel like Kenny gave him the way out, first of all. And then obviously, Kenny wanted to vote him out. So
Bob eventually does claim why he did this, because in the moment during this episode, he does say, well, if I feel like, the deal is if I feel like you need it, then I'll give it to you. And I don't feel like you need it.
Yeah.
And fair enough. Crystal does get voted off. But that's not really it. The real reason is because Bob knows if he gives him the necklace, he's gone. And it reminds me of the Yao Man Dreams thing where Yao Man wanted Dreams' necklace to vote him off. And Dreams knew that. And Dreams ended up getting flack for not giving Yao Ming the necklace because they made a deal, but there was a truck involved in that deal. Like, Dreams got the truck and he didn't give the necklace. Here, there was just a promise. Like, no, Kenny didn't give Bob anything. Bob didn't give Kenny anything.
Yeah, nothing was exchanged.
It was just some words. Yeah. And Kenny, as you said, backed out of the deal, or mostly backed out of the deal, making Bob feel better about it, took him on reward. It wasn't like Bob offered at the beginning of the episode and then at the end, Kenny asked for it. No, there was some stuff in between. So Kenny and Bob are both in the wrong, but Bob ultimately is the winner here, not only of the season, but of this moment because... Yeah, Kenny's acting is terrible. I don't even know. I mean, Bob's maybe he's not the best player, but I think even Bob could have read through the fake acting here. It was so bad.
It was pretty bad.
It was awful. Crystal's voted off. Episode 12. Episode 12, by the way, is finale. Sugar says she wants Maddie and Bob in the final 3. Man, Sugar does not want to win.
No,
I thought at that moment.
Both really big competitors for her to take with her.
Just bring Kenny and Susie to the end.
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm not sure if Kenny could... I mean, I feel like Kenny would at least claim game moves, even if they weren't his, which is probably better than anyone else would have done for this final tribal. But man, Maddie and Bob, like, you're just asking to lose. Bob wins immunity number 3, wins 5 challenges in a row. And infamously during my immunity challenge beast video, I did not include Bob because my standard was you had to win 4 immunity challenges, 4 individual immunity challenges. He only won 3 of the season. He won 2 rewards. So I will admit, Bob this season is a challenge beast. He's just not top. He's not top echelon. It's just more impressive because he's 57.
Yeah.
And he's beating people like Maddie.
Yeah.
And an Olympic athlete in Crystal who need to put respect on her name. She won a gold medal. So it is impressive. I'm not trying to take away from Bob's win. I didn't mean take away from Bob's win by not including that video, but yeah, Bob, man, 5 wins. He ties, I believe, Ozzy for most wins in a row. Because Jeff says he ties it, and I had to look it up. I'm like, was it Tom Westman? No, because Ian interrupts Tom Westman's run of wins. Was it Terry Dietz? No, Terry Dietz got interrupted a couple of times, too, with reward wins. Because Terry Dietz won 5 immunities as well. It was Ozzy. Ozzy got 5 wins in a row between rewards and immunities, so... Pretty good territory to be tying Ozzy, though the competition here is not nearly as strong. Ozzy versus Bob is not close. Ozzy's dominating.
Yeah, for sure.
Terry Dietz versus Bob. Terry Dietz dominating. Tom Westman versus Bob. Tom Westman's dominating. But Bob is no slouch. So Bob exposes Kenny and what he was going to do, and Kenny's voted off here. But at Final Tribal, Kenny asked Bob, "Why did you not give me the necklace again?" And Bob answers him honestly, and Kenny's like, "That's not the answer I wanted to hear."
Right. It's ridiculous.
And I asked you, what did Kenny want to hear? And I think you had a good answer.
He wanted to hear, "Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have gone back on my word.
I should have given you the necklace. Yeah. I'm so sorry. That was my fault."
Yeah.
So and I say this because Kenny ultimately does not vote for Bob. Susie gets 3 votes, and the 3 votes she gets is Maddie, Kenny, and Crystal, which is funny because the editing acted like Kenny's back and forth, like he's pacing as if he was the deciding vote and he was not.
I mean, it was just showing how indecisive he was. I think that was the whole thing. Because he could have voted for Sugar, and then that would have caused a tie, and then so that would have been.
No, wouldn't have.
Yeah, it would have.
No, Bob still wins. Bob wins 4-2-1 if he does that.
If Kenny
votes for Sugar instead of Susie, it's 4-2-1. Yeah.
But anyways, I'm just saying. I think it was just showing his how dramatic, how hard it was for him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he was putting that on for show.
No.
So Kenny gets voted off. We then get the House of Cards challenge.
Yeah.
Which I do like this challenge. And I think partially because they don't overuse it. I know I want to say Survivor 43, don't quote me. In a more modern season, they did a variation of this where it's like a smaller house of cards, which actually I think makes it harder.
Yeah, it
does. The
does.
bigger the cards, the more weight you have. I feel like the steadier it could be. Everyone here has a different strategy. Bob has the strategy of trash.
I don't know. It never works.
I can't even explain it. It was like he was like trying to make like a super wide base, and it was going to take forever to build, but he couldn't even get like more than 3 levels up without it all collapsing anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just felt bad because I'm like, oh, the physics teacher, sure, he's got this.
The guy who won 5 challenges in a row you think would have this, but no. This would be like the one challenge I thought Bob would do good well at. Maddie Maddie can't get together for most of it, and then towards the end he starts to get together. Like he's building a pretty solid house, but he can't catch Susie. Sugar builds easily the flimsiest house. She keeps
over and over and over again.
Yes, different variations of like these is like not well thought out at all. There's not a good foundation here. I think the very first one she builds it's like a tower, and somewhere in the middle it like snakes out and then comes back to the middle. I'm like, how is that even standing right now?
Right. I don't know what her strategy, especially after the first one fell. And then the second one fell.
Well, she changed it up. It just never got better.
She was still doing like the 3, like a 3 base.
And she kept trying to do them tall.
Yeah. It just, you gotta have something more sturdy.
Not Sugar. Susie had obviously she won, but she also had the best strategy of most symmetrical. Maddie was doing pretty good, but I feel like Maddie was using excess pieces, and it was making his build take longer.
Yeah.
So Maddie needed this win. Little did he know how badly he needed this win.
Yeah.
Because I think Maddie wins this. He
probably
likely could have won this season. This is not a strong final 3.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Maddie, this is a do or die $1 million challenge for Maddie. I'm sure his wife would have appreciated the $1 million, but the Bob winning though, I think makes it more of a unique season. So
yeah.
Maddie loses. Susie wins her second immunity. Susie is no slouch on paper. It's just Susie clearly was not liked.
Yeah.
She got 3 votes though.
Right.
She got 3 votes.
Because nobody liked Sugar or Bob either.
Bob and Sugar flopped at Final Tribal. I mean, Susie wasn't much better, but holy cow, Susie is 1 vote from being the champion of the season.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Thailand, where Brian Heidik only won by 1 vote against possibly one of the worst people to be in the final 2 ever. Here, Susie is 1 vote shy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just crazy. Sugar has, she's been kind of crying on and off all season, but here's her biggest emotional dilemma as she starts comparing Bob to her father and Maddie to her brother.
Yeah. And
so therefore she forces a tie as her decision, which I'm okay with. I
liked it.
Obviously Maddie should just be voted off, but you know what? Whatever, man. It works. Like, it makes for a better season is what I mean for us as viewers. It's like strategically, I don't think she's really, despite how good of a player she is, she's not great strategy wise. It's so weird. It's like she is great, but also she's terrible.
Well, and her strategies actually were pretty good. She just
like on paper.
They all worked. Everything worked for her until Tribal.
But nobody liked her.
Yes.
Which is part of strategy.
I just meant, her
game strategy, but not her social strategy.
No, her social strategy was terrible.
Yeah. Her game strategy, like, if we were just to factually write down on paper the moves, like, wow, Sugar played an excellent game.
Yeah.
But then you look at her social strategy and you're like, wow, Sugar's burning the jury the whole time. Like, not like a I almost said the name. Not like a future player that we'll cover later, who you notoriously should know, but yeah, just burning the jury. So ends up being Bob versus Maddie firemaking. We do see Bob practicing, and I really like Bob's practicing strategy. We'll see in later seasons people practice firemaking and they'll build a fire and they'll build it and build it. Bob's not worried about building the fire and he's practicing.
Yeah.
He's start the fire. Okay, put it out. Start the fire, put it out. Because as long as he can get the fire started, he's like, I can figure the rest out from there.
Right.
Which I think is a really good practicing strategy.
No, that was cool to see because I hadn't ever really thought about it because that is the most important part, obviously.
It really is.
And the most difficult part is getting it started. Now, I do think you want to be able to know how to maintain it because a lot of times people get the fire started and then it immediately dies out. So it is important to know how to maintain it, but you got to be able to start it. We
hadn't had a Final Four firemaking since Becky and Sundra and Cook Islands, and Bob was much better than them.
Yeah.
They needed matches, which was hilarious. But I think Bob's strategy here is really good, and something that if I were to play, I would also try to replicate, is if I'm on an island practicing with the on-island materials is start the fire, all right, put it out. Start the fire, put it out. Because if I can get the fire started, I'll figure it out. I know in my head what I should do, but it's hard because you don't have the exact materials they have in the firemaking contest at your camp. So why bother using materials that you have unless they give you like the coconut husk and the little twig? Like, if they're not giving you that stuff, then just practice the thing that you can practice, which is get the fire started, put it out. I think it's a really good strategy, personally. That seems to be the most crucial thing we'll see players constantly struggle with is just getting it started.
Yep.
People will lose the fire, but I feel like more commonly they can't get their fire started fast enough. So, All right. Maddie loses to Bob. It's not even close. I mean, we saw this during the fire making challenge a few episodes ago, and Susie won the immunity. Maddie was horrid during the challenge as well. Absolute garbage. I specifically paid attention knowing this is where it was going eventually.
Right.
Maddie was trash during that challenge. Well, he had no, you can see his technique, no concept. And of course, here it's not common for the final four fire making to happen. So people aren't practicing the same as they will in later seasons. And then we go to Final Tribal. Everyone gives their little talks. I really love the aerial footage we get of the Fawn camp before going to Final Tribal. I will say it gives me a greater perspective of how the layout is, though you get a pretty good idea because there's not a lot of trees. Mostly where they're living. They mostly are living in the clearing. So you kind of have an idea of how everything's laid out. But I really enjoyed the aerial footage we got of the Fawn camp. I know it's a nerdy thing, but whatever.
Well, and it was cool because the cabin was burning. Not cabin. Hut was burning.
Yeah.
And location.
Oh, and I forgot to mention during Bob's last immunity win, during that challenge where he's building his little pyramid puzzle or whatever, you can see in the background, I pointed this out to you, you can see the road that the vehicles had to drive to get there, which is so rare to see in any season. In fact, it's the only time I can name that I've seen a road, not a walking path, but a road, a dirt road, but a road in the background. So
true.
Just something. All right, so we're at Final Tribal. I didn't even take notes as Final Tribal. It was just constant trash.
Right.
And from Bob, Sugar, and Susie. I think Corinne was hilarious to Susie and Bob, and I think she was mean to Sugar. Like what she said to Sugar was just cruel. It was a step too far.
Yeah.
But what she said to Susie were like, if you say yes to this, I will give you my vote for $1 million. Will you have your vocal cords removed? Susie's laughing, Bob's laughing, Sugar's laughing, I'm laughing, everyone's laughing. It's a joke.
I wasn't laughing.
I know you weren't laughing, but I think everyone knew it as a joke. I don't think Susie saying yes to that's going to get Corinne's vote anyways, to be fair.
Sure.
I think Bob had that vote no matter what for Corinne. But yeah, Corinne takes a step too far with Sugar, which, by the way, when Corinne comes to play on The Amazing Race with Eliza, they will use that clip for why she's a villain. For her and Eliza are both like the Survivor villainous team.
Sure.
On Amazing Race, they'll use Corinne's thing to Sugar.
Well, it makes sense. It was pretty intense.
That's the one clip they use. She's still a villain when she comes back to play later, but yeah, that's the clip they use. So we just Bob fumbling, Sugar fumbling, Sugar like straight up almost. There's multiple times people ask her questions and she answers and they're like, "That's it. That's all you're gonna say." It's like, okay, like why?
Well, she had no confidence. She was like, I just didn't really.
My bank account doesn't really have much money.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, but I thought I did pretty good socially.
Yeah, I played a good game. Like if Sugar comes in with confidence, Sugar wins this game potentially. I'm not saying she does for sure. Sugar gets votes at least.
Yeah.
Sugar has no confidence, doesn't claim anything. Sugar did so much. All she has to do, and this is not a jury full of nice people.
Right.
This is a jury with jerks on it. Randy, a massive jerk who does not like Sugar, says before Final Tribal, Sugar played a great game.
Yep.
And I'm paraphrasing. Played a great game. And I think Randy's like, if Sugar can just be the jerk that she is and claim her game, I will vote for her, is what it felt like. I could be wrong. And this is from the guy that she constantly was burning. Randy is like equal opportunity hatred to all. So in essence, that means that you could still like, there's no like, he's sour, but he's not like, he's sour. He's just sour against everybody. That's why when he votes, he says, all three of you can kiss my butt, because Randy doesn't like any of them.
Nope.
And by the way, this is a post-game story. You ready? Randy says that he thinks he was deciding to vote for Bob. Probably. I don't know. I mean, one of the four is a deciding vote for Bob to win this game.
Yeah, sure.
So he says that him, Bob, and a few others were all in New York for something. And they were taking a cab together, and it was time to split the bill. And Bob said, I don't have any money on me to pay the bill. So Randy covered Bob's portion, and Bob never paid him back. And this was right after Bob had won the money for Gabon. And Randy to this day has not gotten over that. This interview with him was like 2021. So if we're talking like 14 years later, Randy's just like, he says he regrets voting for Bob. But only in retro, only because of post-game actions, not during the game stuff. So I thought that was a funny little side. Mary is like, I'm over it.
Yeah,
I'm
really over Randy.
Mary's not a big fan of these people. Yeah. So I don't know. Just everyone here botches Final Tribal. Susie, Bob, Sugar. It's just it's bad. It's nothing. It's not really much to enjoy here. It's just kind of like, come on, everybody, somebody.
I can't think of one like time where I was like, oh yeah, that is a pretty good answer.
I think Susie had a halfway decent answer at one point, but I was like, I do mean halfway decent, and that was about it.
It was definitely her best hour, and besides winning that final immunity, because she out of the three of them, she was the most confident, and she actually had some sort of storyline where she said, you know, I came in here not expecting to do well at all, you know, not even knowing what was going to happen, but I just wanted to try.
I believe Susie watched the show before she came on.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she was an actual fan. Yeah.
Unlike Sugar, I feel like Susie was actually a fan. Bob, I don't know. I assume Bob watched the show. I feel like Bob's the kind of guy who would watch the show. Sugar made it clear she didn't really watch. So for Bob to answer questions the way he did, just like, come on. Like, come on. Like, Sugar makes sense because if she's a true recruit. We saw the same thing with Courtney Yates in China. She's like, I'm surprised I'm even here. Like, Courtney did the same thing, but Courtney's so charismatic and she was liked. Whereas here, Sugar is not liked. Sugar has charisma. She just didn't utilize any of it here.
Yeah. She
tried being like cutesy and innocent, and this was the wrong jury to do that to.
Right.
The jury was not having any of that. So, Bob ends up winning barely in a 4-3 vote. I am shocked. Maddie, Kenny, and Crystal voted for Susie. I want to talk about that. Why do we think those three voted for Susie? Let's talk this through. Why did Crystal vote for Susie over Bob and Sugar?
Because Bob burned her. Bob and Sugar both burned her.
Okay. Kenny's obvious why he didn't vote for Bob. I think we're clear on that. But he didn't even vote for Sugar.
Same thing. Sugar burned him.
Okay. Maddie
was close with Susie the whole time. They were like lions.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Even at Final Four, him and... Okay.
She voted with them.
Very quickly, Mary cleared up all those three. So what could have Susie done to win this game? Who could she have flipped? We got Marcus, Charlie, Corinne, and Randy. I don't think she ever had a chance at Corinne's vote. I think Corinne was just making a joke. I don't think Susie saying yes changes Corinne's vote.
The only thing that would have changed for Susie was for her to not be so on. Like, she told Marcus, I'm probably not going to vote with you. I'm probably going to flip. She told Corinne, I'm probably going to vote you out.
Yeah.
Like, she would have had to make changes way long before in how she communicated with people, I think.
But I do think a solid Final Tribal from Susie. I mean, I do mean a good... Like, she's the only one there putting on a good Final Tribal, a la a Gabler in 43, and where the other two are flopping. I think Susie could get another vote. I don't know whose.
That's true, because Marcus had one question for her, and I forget exactly what the question was. Something about how do the other people not deserve it. And she talked more about herself, and you could see in Marcus's face immediately. It was like, okay, that's not the answer I wanted.
Yeah.
So if she would have maybe just answered his question the way he wanted, that could have been the one vote.
Marcus and Charlie came in level-headed with reasonable questions that they asked.
Yeah.
From a very... Even if they had made their minds up, they seemed like they were open to changing their minds based on the way they asked their questions.
Question to Bob, but...
Well, Charlie's question is pretty basic, but I'm just saying, like, they were not like Corinne or Randy. They weren't coming there salty.
No, yeah.
You know, they weren't like... It didn't feel like Marcus and Charlie really... Like, they had been out of the game long enough. I feel like they've been in Ponderosa for like 2 weeks at this point.
Right, yeah.
So... There's been time away. They've kind of calmed down. Whereas you got like other people who are just riled up. So Marcus or Charlie was one of her best bets to flip if she put on a good Final Tribal. And I feel like Marcus, you're right. I think Marcus would have been the most like rational, reasonable person to vote. And I'm glad Marcus didn't win this game.
Yeah.
Because what a boring winner that would have been. Also, Marcus was on some sort of dating show within the past couple of years of us recording this. Couldn't tell you the show. It was in my Gabon Secrets video. There you go. I'm not plugging that again, but it's in there because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. So Marcus, still single if you're looking. Anybody out there?
Yeah, I'm not.
And not you. I'm talking to people in the audience. Yeah, no, you better not be looking. Hey, this is Valentine's Day. All right, well, next time this is our longest deep dive by far, but it was one of the messiest seasons ever. And Mary is dead tired. We were recording this late. Thank you, Mary, for recording this on Valentine's Day with me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just the way the scheduling worked. So, all right, next time we are doing Samoa.
Cool.
AKA the Russell Hanson Alley White season.
Oh, man.
What do you mean, oh man? You forgot that?
Yeah. I don't remember what seasons they are.
So the next one we're doing is Samoa. Russell Hanson, Allie White. Man, whew, I can't wait to talk about that. I really am looking forward. This is one of my favorite seasons, Samoa.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, Mary. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. If you got to the end of this podcast, man, what
Don't we have questions?
Oh, holy cow. We do have questions. Thank you, Mary. All right. Let's time for questions. Good point. The podcast has been going for so long, I forgot we even had questions. So we might not get as in depth as we usually. Maybe we might have covered a lot of this stuff already. So
Probably.
All right, time for your all's questions. I asked on Patreon what questions you had for us. Thank you for reminding me, Mary. All right, Laura asked, "Would Gabon be better remembered if anyone else won?" I think if Sugar won.
Yeah, I think Sugar is pretty memorable. So I think if she wouldn't, that would have made the whole season a little bit more memorable.
Susie winning would have made the season worse.
Probably.
Maddie winning would have been kind of boring. Crystal or Kenny winning, I feel like is that possible? If Crystal won, that'd been hilarious. After she was bad all season at every challenge. But anyways, I do think there's other people, but we're talking about from the final three. I'd say specifically Sugar.
Yeah.
Daniel asked, at the time, we didn't watch this live, Daniel, so we'll answer based on the first time we watched it. At the time, did Bob feel like the deserving winner to you? I think we liked Bob when we finished the season, even though we didn't when we watched it the first time.
Yeah, I think I liked him better the first watch through than second watch through. I don't know. It's not.
We were rooting for Bob, I think is what it was the first time.
I do think, yeah, out of the final three, he was the most deserving, strictly based on Sugar's lack of social awareness, social strategy, and Susie's lack of social strategy too, I guess. I don't know. He was the one that deserved it by the end.
Yeah.
Is he the top 25 winner? No.
The first time we watched, though, we wanted Maddie to win.
Probably.
That's
I don't remember.
But then when Maddie got voted off, we thought Sugar was going to win, but we wanted Bob to win. So, and then his follow-up question is Bob the worst winner ever?
No.
I mean, define worst.
He at least won like 5 challenges.
Yeah, to like define worst, like as a person, absolutely not. Gameplay wise, no, he did some things. He won
challenges.
It's just his final tribal was so bad. It kind of puts a sour note on the end of.
He's not the worst winner.
His final tribal is so bad. I could see why somebody would think that, but I don't think he's the worst winner ever. Giovanni asks, "What's the difference between a season like Thailand and Gabon, which has similarly villainous survivor characters?" Mary can't answer this. She hasn't seen Thailand yet, but from my perspective, Gabon's funny. Thailand is never funny. You get little funny moments, but like, I don't know, the season's so dark. Just there's too many dark stuff. Like Corinne and Randy are the kinds of villains I feel like these are characters. Like sure, like they're like this in real life, but like it's different. Like the people who are villains in Thailand are like feel scummy and gross, and it's just like ugh. I don't want to. If I ran into Corinne or Randy out in public and they were the way that they are in the show, I would find it funny. But if I ran into people from Thailand the way they are, I'd be like, oh, please go away. I don't want to. I would try to avoid the interaction. So this will make more sense when we watch Thailand eventually, Mary. Yeah. Blue Jay asks, does Bob deserve the title of Game Changer for his realistic fake idols? If they had asked Bob back from Game Changers, I think that would have been. His fake idols are the best I've ever seen. So.
Yeah, I mean, he had amazing fake idols.
Also, half the Game Changers cast was not Game Changers, so...
Yeah. Probably more than some people on there.
He's definitely more than some people. All right. Ooh, I'm going to butcher this. Genevieve. All right. Genevieve. Do you know how to pronounce that, Mary?
Genevieve.
There we go. I just finished watching the season for the first time, and what struck me is how no one but Kelly thought to bounce Sugar from this game. How did she wind up being essentially the kingmaker of Survivor Gabon? I think, on one hand...
People underestimated her the entire time.
Yeah, they underestimated her and didn't realize what influence she had with the underdogs.
Yeah.
She was never in good with those in control of the game. So she took control of the game with the underdogs constantly by switching up the game. If you were an underdog, Sugar was likely to come to you and feel bad for you and be like, let's change this game.
Yep.
So
true.
That's really how she took control so many times. And why people were loyal to her. And also I don't think anybody really viewed her as a threat to win at the end, which is why there was never any talks of let's get out Sugar. She's going to win. Mm-hmm. So All right. Have we seen anyone else do anything like it since? Even in the Final Four, she winds up with more power than Susie, who won immunity. Well, Susie, let's just start there. Susie is not a great social player. So Susie does not have the social capital. I don't know. Susie does not talk with confidence like, hey, let's do this. This is what I think should happen. Like, Susie's kind of like, oh, yeah, hey, guys. I thought it was kind of funny when Bob lost the challenge, huh? And, like, Susie's, like, kind of a goof.
Yeah.
But, like, kind of like an introverted, quiet goof. So, I mean, just my assessment. Well, how does Sugar have more power? Because Sugar's out here
talking to people,
making moves.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, why listen to Susie at the very end when, also Maddie was going to vote for Bob no matter what. And Bob was going to vote for Maddie no matter what. Basically, nobody wanted to vote out Sugar. I don't think anybody saw Sugar as the threat to win the game. Yeah. Bob straight up says at Final Four, like, I think I'd rather sit against Susie and Sugar than sit against Maddie. So,
yep.
Final Four, it kind of just made sense. All right. She also says, I know she's considered a villain, but I kind of respect the hustle. I mean, Sugar is very polarizing to me. I think some people love her and some people just, like, can't stand her. I think I fall in between. Like, I like Sugar. I also, Sugar's a good follow sometimes online. I can't really recommend. Not the same way I can recommend like Corinne or Randy but yeah. Anyways, so Sugar, I don't know. I like some days I like Sugar, some days I don't. I guess. When I think on her game in the season, I feel like some episodes I was like, man, Sugar, she should win. Then some times I'm like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? She's polarizing to me.
Yeah, she had a lot of emotional ups and downs. For me, I liked her. I liked watching her play because you never were quite sure what was going to happen with her or what she was going to do. But everything she attempted, she seemed to pull off. So I was really disappointed with her final tribal and wished that she would have won, I guess. I can see as a person, yeah, she wouldn't be somebody I'd be like best friends with or anything. But at the same time, I can respect her game.
The next question is from, I feel like I'm going to butcher this one too, so I'm just going to say it out loud. Jairo, which I feel like is Spanish, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm just going to spell it. Is Gabon crazier than Brains versus Brawn? I believe he is implying Kai Gayan specifically. I try to keep this podcast spoiler free, so I won't reveal why Brains versus Brawn, aka Kai Gayan, is crazy. But I personally think it's crazier than Brains versus Brawn. But if someone were to argue the other way around, I would be like, okay, like it's just difference of opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't
We're talking about, I'll tell you afterwards, Chaos Cast that season.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how not to spoil it. All right. 5RG2 asks, I recently rewatched this season around Thanksgiving. If you were both playing the game, what votes would you all have and have not gone through with? Like, would you have both voted with the majority, or would you have voted differently? I don't. So this is a hard one to answer because who are we in the game? Who are we replacing?
Ourselves.
Yeah, but are we just added on to the cast? I hate to get in the weeds, but because a lot of this is dependent. Like, am I Marcus? Or am I with Marcus, or am I on Fong? So, but he does give a couple examples. So we'll try to address the examples. Like, would you both have voted Michelle at the first tribal? I would have.
Sure, I'd go with majority.
I don't
I'm not
think
gonna rock the boat.
Michelle was going to change their fate at the next our next tribal. And she seemed to be kind of in the same camp as Kelly, where she's kind of annoying. Like, frankly, she seemed kind of annoying. So, and would we have both voted Jillian? I think at the second tribal, I also would have had to vote Jillian.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I would feel having Jeff ream me out for 2 tribal councils, though, I gotta say. I would kind of want kinder, gentler Jeff. Personally, if I'm in the game, I don't want Jeff reaming me out first tribal council. You need a leader. What are you guys doing? Like, Jeff, chill out, bro. So I would have been thinking in the moment. If I'm in the game. So I'd be thinking, yeah, chill out, Jeff. All right. Kevin asks, do you think Bob is a better or worse winner?
Then who?
Sorry, guys. I have to spoil season 2138 with this question. So if you care, it's okay. The podcast's almost over with. I appreciate you being here. Bye. Love you. All right. If you already know the winners of those seasons, we're going forward with this question. All right, that was your chance. All right, Kevin asked, do you think Bob is a better or worse winner than Fabio and Chris Underwood? I think Fabio's a better winner than Bob. I think Fabio, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Nicaragua front to back. I want to say Fabio's a better winner because I don't recall Fabio at Final Tribal just completely botching it. Bob just botches this. Fabio doesn't make any like great fake idols. Fabio wins, I believe, 4 or 5 individual immunities. I want to say 5. Like on the same level with like Ozzy and Terry Dietz and Tom Westman. Fabio wins a bunch. He's not on the right side of the vote a bunch of times. Not that that is as important as just pleasing the jury and getting to the end. But Fabio sits next to 2 people who do kind of botch Final Tribal, and he's just generally liked. And I don't get the feeling like, well, I have to vote for somebody, so let me vote for Fabio. I don't know.
Sure.
But to be fair, Mary and I have not watched Nicaragua in quite a long time. We will eventually. Chris Underwood, though, is more recent.
I would have said Chris was a better winner because he actually had a lot of obstacles to overcome.
You're walking into dangerous territory.
I know. People don't like him.
No, people don't like him. And it has all to do with the twist that season. So Chris factually got voted out in episode 3, and Bob never got voted off. There's just no other way to put that. Like, that is the facts. The facts is Chris got voted off episode 3 and Bob didn't. So if we're talking about strictly from that standpoint, on paper, Bob's a better winner. However, who was I more impressed by, Bob or Chris? Chris impressed me more.
Yeah.
And I don't care what advantages he had. I don't care that he went to Edge of Extinction. I don't care. All I care about is that Chris learned his lesson from getting voted off, and he came back in and he made a heck of a finale. That finale was like a movie, and it was entertaining to watch. And which one would I rather rewatch? Bob's win or Chris's win? Chris's is much shorter to watch, by the way. You only got to watch 4 episodes. So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to say Chris is more entertaining, but factually on paper, Bob's is more impressive. All right, next question is, Kevin wants to know, if we were on the jury, who would we have voted for from the final 3 to win? If we were sitting there and we asked them, let's say you and I asked reasonable questions. We were on the Marcus Charlie train versus the Corinne and Randy. I don't think I would have been like Corinne and Randy. I would hope not. Who do we have voted for? Not caring about who everyone else voted for. Who do we have voted for? This one's a hard one. I want to say Bob, but is it because you want to say him? I don't know. I don't think I would say Sugar. Sugar did not claim anything.
I think I would have voted for Bob because, yes, Sugar's Final Tribal is terrible. Mm-hmm. I don't think Susie did anything in the game. She was never in any alliance, really, and she had no clout. Bob actually won immunity, and I put a lot of worth in actually winning challenges. He was one that helped them actually survive.
Susie won 2 immunities. Bob won 3. Just saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Bob won more challenges overall. He did
win more, yeah.
He also he helped them survive physically out in the wild by catching fish, by starting the fires, by building their shelter, by making a bench. Like, as just an overall survivor at that time period, I think I would have appreciated Bob's skill. He's also older, so I know he's not just going to waste the money on, well, I don't know. He could, but I think I would have gone with Bob.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, Bob did not. I don't know. I don't want to bring that up because I can't say for sure how people spend their money. Only person I know for sure how they spent their money is this winner of 43 because he told everyone. True. So anyways, I can't speak on that. So I would personally say it would come down to me. Who did I enjoy living with the most out of the 3 on the island? And that's a great question because I really value Susie's honesty. Like, because I also fall in the same camp. So would I vote for Susie just because I straight up appreciate her honesty at all times? I probably would have felt socially manipulated by Sugar personally at multiple times because of her crying. I don't know if I would fall for the crying. I'm saying I would feel like she might be trying to manipulate me.
Yeah.
Even though she's genuine in her crying. Like, she's not crying just to manipulate. That's just who she is. I might have voted Susie just because I appreciated her as a person. And gameplay wise, I feel like they're all in the same camp. Like, none of you claimed your game. Like, I don't know. It's almost as bad as not even having a game, which is what some of them said Bob said he didn't even have. Ugh. So anyways, I might have voted Susie if I was living on the island for 39 days. But if we're saying just from a viewer's perspective, Bob. But I also got to see the winter edit of Bob. So,
yeah, that's true.
You know, they didn't show all the flaws of Bob's game. But if I was living there, might have voted Susie, believe it or not, unless she annoyed the crap out of me. So, all right, last question is from a different Kevin, not the same Kevin. What's your personal highlight in the chaos of Gabon, Mary? What is your personal favorite moment from the season? Mary's giving me a look if there is no favorite moment, but you have to pick one now.
No, I'm just...
Oh. My personal favorite is the Randy vote off. The whole episode, from the auction to the time Randy gets voted off, that whole episode is my favorite.
My favorite moment, as dumb and cheesy as this is when Bob's wife comes at the reward.
I thought you were going to say Maddie proposing.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bob's wife, that was a sweet moment. See, that's the kind of stuff, like, just part of the, part of the edit. So, anyways, this is by far our longest deep dive, but I think it was totally worth it. Do you agree, Mary? Don't answer that question. Totally. All right. So, next time, when you're listening to this on YouTube, next time we'll be covering Samoa. If you're listening to this on Patreon, we're probably in the middle of a current Survivor season, so you'll hear us much sooner than that. By the way, we appreciate you, and we look forward to our next season, which should be a hot discussion.
It'll be something.
I mean, I think we'll both be on the same page, but it'll be a hot discussion still. So, all right. Thank you all.
Bye.